mommy. Oh. Hello, Penguin Butt. Hey, Ed, Penguin Butt was first, dude. She beat you, man. Jandre, what's up, man? Leonard, what's up, dude? Just a bunch of cat emotes. That's beautiful. No, this is not live. Death Ray Chicken Nuggets. This is a rerun. Yeah, it's a rerun. Oh, you were here first talking to your wife? Well, I don't think that counts, dude. You gotta put something in chat for it to count. Well, DM, what's up? Yeah, there are rules around here. You gotta follow the rules, man. Dan Bear, what's up? No coffee, but black tea. I was debating between tea or coffee, like for this stream actually. Penguin says I just been sitting here, so there's no way to tell who was first, but I did a talk first. Penguin Butt, don't weaken your position, okay? Just go with it. If you were given the designation of first, just take it, and you know, don't cede ground. Never cede ground. Yeah, Dan, we have rules. You set your alarm, nice. Oh, you did. That's funny. Chicken nuggets. Hot Mitts, hello, how you doing? Ed will always acquiesce to Penguin Butt. That is very gentleman-like of you, Ed. Leopold, what's up, dude? She's the boss. Is she the boss? I mean, she's terrifying. Oh, yes. Thank you, Leopold. I was like... I was like, okay, so in my Ancient Dragon game, one of the players can't play any longer. And so I'm like, okay, I'll go get a reservist. And I ping the first one, and he's like, sorry, I gotta work. And I'm just like, okay. I ping the second one. He's like, sorry, gotta work. And I'm just like, you guys are literally paying $50 a month to be in line to join my game. And so it's just, you know, kind of like... So then Leopold, I pinged you, and I was like, okay, somebody's gotta be here to be in line, right? And then you're like, good to go, so it's cool. I just thought it was funny. Pickle, what's up? Game Raider Girl, hello, good to see you. Yeah, we'll get you some information, Leopold. What a beautiful and fun creature. What's this? Me? I'm a beautiful and fun creature? Oh, well, thank you. I feel special. We have a cat strike. Nice. Cassie Siviv. Hello. Cassie? Kasai? Will Rab, what's up? Barter Bear, hello. Wearing, yo. Pakan, sup? Appeal, hello. Omnixar, what's up? You're actually revving in the Q&A stream, not at the very end of it. Oh, well timed. Hungry hippos. Nice. You taught some kiddos to play D&D today. I'm so proud of the mess they made. What'd they do? The barbarian was a sage background story? Oh, yeah. You just played D&D as a player for the first time in a hot minute. So refreshed not to DM. Yeah, it's cool to be a player from time to time. You don't have to prepare anything. It's like you don't have to prepare anything. You can just show up. You can just like, you know, you don't have to think a whole lot. It's pretty easy. Just like I can just sit here and Hot Mitts, thank you for the tier 1 gifted sub. Appreciate that. Oh, we have push-ups. I gotta disable the push-up stuff. My hand is still hurting, and it's probably gonna be hurting for a while. I just need to go in. I need to find where they put the stupid. Holy mackerel! Twitch has such horrible organization. Where? Oh, where they changed it all recently too. Channel points. There we go. I need to turn off the push-up thing because my hand is not feeling better and it's been bad for a while. So it doesn't make any sense to have the push-up thing on. There we go. Turned off. Whee! There we go. I've solved that problem. Thank you. Hello. Today's video was great. Well, thank you, Ed. Appreciate that. We're going to talk about the new Ravenloft book at the very beginning here. We're going to talk about it. Because there's so much to say. Woo! Do squats instead of push-ups? I guess I could. Those are really easy. I could redeem a whole bunch of those. Like just body weight squats, you know? Look at Squeaky. Squeaky, what are you doing down there, buddy? What's going on? What's this? What's the belly doing? Mommy's like, hey, what's going on over here? Hey. That hand sounds rough. Better amputate it at this rate. Yeah, I have a doctor appointment not too long from now, and I'm probably going to be like, yo, my hand hurts. Can you fix it? Beth, hello. How's it going? Aaronall. Yeah, cat trip, baby. What up? You're stoked for Ravenloft. Never got to play before. Prepare, but it's always considered buying it. I mean, I'm enjoying my Curse of Strahd campaign. Mommy wants attention too. She always wants attention. Come here, mommy. She's a kisses hog. She's a kisses stealer. She steals all the other cats' attention. Like I can be petting another cat and she will come run over. She will push the other cat out of the way so that she can get, I call them kisses, but it's just petting her, you know, to push the other cat out of the way so she can get kisses. She's just a little thief. Isn't that right, mommy? Yeah, questions have started. You can start dropping questions. My moderators, my lovely moderator, Ed, is putting them into the spreadsheet. Mommy. Okay, we can start this now. Oh, you're also in the sheet? Awesome. Flavored Dion, Megan, hello. It's about time you came. Your new schedule is like nearly impossible for me to watch. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, it's just Tuesdays and Fridays now, you know? You're here tonight. That's the important part. Is your cup on top of your keyboard? My cup is literally on top of my keyboard. Look at this. Like when my keyboard moves, my cup moves. It's sitting on top of it. It glides back and forth. Look at that. Do you know how precarious this is? Like, I mean, I could errantly strike a key This cup could tip over and spill onto my keyboard. Like, this is so horribly precarious. This is like a world ending scenario right here. Yeah, it's very, very bad. Okay, let's get this kicked off. Let's do this. Mommy, Mommy, you're not gonna get kisses all day. Oh, here we go. Hello, how's it going? So tonight's this is a live stream. I'm live streaming for all of you lovely people. So yeah, that's what we're doing tonight. This is a Q&A hangout. You ask questions, I give answers and stuff. That's what we do. So yeah, throw your questions in there. Give mommy the kisses. Megan's getting angry at me. Dang. Throw your questions. It's like hashtag question all caps. You can see everybody in the chat is doing it the right way for the most part. So just follow along with the crowd and you'll be just fine. So there you go. And my mods are putting all your questions into a spreadsheet so they don't get missed, which means you don't have to spam them. Although I will mention that a little bit of spamming is okay because it gets Penguin Butt all happy. She loves swinging her sword and chopping people's heads off and timing people out. Like, I think that's probably why she comes to every live stream. She just loves lopping heads off. So if you want to do a little bit of spamming and kind of like a self-sacrifice thing, you know, sacrifice your own head to make Penguin Butt feel good, then yeah, you know. But otherwise, probably don't want to spam. All right. Let us pop into our beautiful plugs and shameless stuff going on right here. Thank you so much to all my patrons who help keep the lights on around here. There's a bunch of names on screen right here. Lots of cool folks. And these folks right here get a special verbal shout out. Really appreciative. All right, let's hit this. 5e Magic Shop, Arutha, Beoban, Bidaby, Candy Sawyer, Chris Y, The Cow Says, Moo Dresna at RME, Eric S, Goliath Cleric, Izzy T, Jake L, James L, John H, Josue S, Kezades, Kurt Y, Kiriako, Leopold, Lori Scott, Luke G, Mad Quad, Michael C, O and D, Paul B, Penguin Butt, Phoebe, published author, Radiance Guardians, Rance W, Race W, Robert W, Rock and Roll Joe, Ron H, Ryan Sakura, Simon, Snapragger, Sophie M, Son of a Sofa Man, Tactical Tokens, the ODM, The Pickle, Theta Tech, 3 Zul, Tim Black, Tony M, Tooth and Nail Rules, Tyler N, William L. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes. Do you know why there are so many patrons now, Will? Because thank you for the beautiful segue, because I am now publishing monthly Dungeon Master resources to my patrons. It's like full 5th edition adventures, magic items. We do villains with stat blocks. We do encounters. There are professional grade maps designed for virtual tabletops. We do traps. We do puzzles. On screen, you can see examples of it. This goes out every single month to my patrons, and I am right now. My PDF editor, my editor dude, my PDF layout dude, just got me back the draft for the March PDF. You guys, it's 50 pages long. It's friggin' insane. Crap tons of content for folks. So yeah, links and crap if you're interested in checking that out. Lots of amazing stuff right there. Which is why there are people signing up to Patreon, because I mean, theoretically here they're going to get some really cool stuff they can use in their games. So bingo bango. All right, plugs and shamelessness is over now. Thank you. Yeah, the annual, if you do the Patreon annually, then you save like 5% or something. I don't know, but it was 5 or 10%. I don't know what it was. You have to go look. All right. Whew. The old DM says the PDF is great stuff. Use it in my game. Sweet. Thank you. Waring says true. I became Patreon for the PDF. Nice. This is beautiful. All right. Questions. Let's see. How can a squeaky emote be made or put in the unlock options? I have no idea. That's a Twitch question. Twitch question. Somebody help that person. I have no idea how that works. How do you deal with players that are too creative? How do I zoom in on this? These questions are too small. How do I zoom? Come on, let's go. This is not hard. I don't know how to do this. Zoom. Literally, oh, there it is. I don't know why my zoom button wasn't working. Okay, there we go. How do you deal with players that are too creative? Like when players slow down combat so much because they are just trying things that require too much time to deal with that is comfortable. I mean, crap. As a dungeon master, I would really hate to do things that stamp down on creativity. Like, I don't know exactly what they're doing and the extent of it and stuff, but if my players are doing things that was creative and inventive and stuff, for me to like stamp down on it, that just would feel bad. Because you want them to be creative, and that's part of what makes the game fun and stuff. I feel like there's probably two parts to it. There are two parts to it. First of all, the player needs to be quick about their creativity, right? They can't take 5 minutes to explain what they're trying to do. They need to take 10 seconds to explain what they're trying to do. That's the first thing. So you be creative. That's great. Have a good idea. Have a cool idea. That's great. That's wonderful. Yay. But explain it to me very quickly, right? Like you can explain your idea to me as quickly as possible and efficiently as possible. Think it out ahead of time and then work through it. And it's difficult because sometimes the players will come to you with like a question like, well, could I try this? Oh, well, then if I could try that, could I also try this? And it turns into this long conversation, a discussion about could I and if and then and the other. Now that's going a little, what you need to say is, okay, let me know what you're attempting to do. Well, I'm not sure if it's going to work. Well, nobody's sure if it's going to work or not. You tell me what you're attempting to do, and then I, the dungeon master, will adjudicate. I will decide what rules apply to it. I will tell you what to roll, and then the dice and me will make a determination about whether it's successful or not. So try to avoid that whole conversation stuff and just get them to quickly tell you what they're attempting to do. And then that's the first part. They need to explain it to you quickly. And then you need to adjudicate quickly. Like if they're doing some crazy thing and you're just like, oh, I don't know what the rules are. Don't look them up. Just make a ruling on the fly and be like, okay, well, you know what? I'm just going to have you make an acrobatics check for that. Just acrobatics check and we're going to see what happens. Oh, a 15? Yeah, that probably just works. A 5? Nope, that didn't work. A 25? Oh yeah, woo. So I think there are two parts to that. They explain quickly what they're trying to do, and then you adjudicate quickly, and then you move on. But I feel like you're probably, my guess is from my experience, the creativity where you're getting bogged down in the creativity is on their round. They want to go into a big discussion and conversation with you about what they're attempting to do and explaining all the details and explaining what they think the effects should be and what they're trying to accomplish and stuff like that. So that's probably what's happening, and that's probably what's bogging everything down, would be my guess. And so there needs to be a conversation where you're like, we need to avoid doing that. If you want to do something that's creative, that's wonderful. Simply tell me what you're trying to do in about 10 seconds, and then then we'll figure it out. But we got to avoid those big, huge conversations. And I get it. I do. I have a player in a game who he takes forever to explain something. And then he repeats himself multiple times. And it's like, no, just spit it out. Spit it out. So I feel you, dude. Okay. Are you good at math? I have an exam in an hour. I'm exceptionally good at math. I'm not helping you. How much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Lots of wood. Thank you for the questions. How about you do push-ups when I can? I had wrist surgery on January 6th, getting my cast off Thursday, and already started rehab. When I can do push-ups, you'd better be able to. Deal? Deal. You got it, man. Ed is like, more questions. Don't give Luke the chance to just start freestyling. Oh, yeah, you don't want me to freestyle. Oh, Goats are goat. Thank you for the tier 1. Appreciate that. And Simpaticos, thank you also for the tier 1. Thank you, dude. Oh, you know what I said I was gonna do? We were gonna talk about the new Ravenloft thing they announced today. Let's talk about that for a second. I said I was gonna do that first, and then I forgot to. That, or I lied to you. Ha 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 ha. So this is their announcement. This is their pretty announcement. It's very, very pretty. We have artwork. It's lovely. And it says Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft, Campaign Sourcebook. Campaign Sourcebook. So this is important. Usually a campaign sourcebook means it gives you all the material needed to run a game in that world. So Ravenloft is a domain of dread in the Shadowfell that, you know, is Barovia and all the lands therein, the valley of Barovia. So theoretically, this sourcebook is supposed to allow us to run a campaign in Ravenloft. That's my assumption by reading this. All right. Now let's just let's look through and see what this thing says. Face your fears. Unleash the horrors of Ravenloft in this campaign sourcebook for the world's greatest role-playing game. Terror stalks the nightmare realms of Ravenloft. No one knows better than the... Yep. Has compiled his correspondence and case files into this tome of eerie tales and chilling truths. Okay, that's great. So far, we've been told nothing. Discover the mysteries of Ravenloft, mist-shrouded lands where infamous dark lords lurk among ageless vampires, zombie hordes, cosmic terrors, and worse. Then make your choice. Will you create your own domain of dread setting to host endless, terrifying adventures, or will you join the ranks of haunted heroes who embrace macabre lineages, dual-edged dark gifts, haunted subclasses, and other forbidden flowers? I think people are going to definitely do that. So this is what starts to concern me. Will you create your own domain of dread? Okay. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft contains everything you need to craft a horror-themed campaign for Dungeons & Dragons. That's wonderful. Does it contain source material for Ravenloft? Unleash a treasure trove of new story hooks, character options, and campaign customization to bring one of the most exciting Dungeons & Dragons settings to life. Really? I'm getting confused. Is it going to help me craft my own domain of dread, or is it going to help me bring one of the most exciting Dungeons & Dragons settings to life, which is Ravenloft? You see, I'm already confused. What is this going to do for me? Is this a campaign source book that includes a bunch of information about Ravenloft so I can run a game in Ravenloft? Or is it going to basically help me create my own domain of dread? Okay. And then we got some bullet points. Usually more information is in bullet points than in prose. So let's just see what we got here. Travel, perhaps even by choice, to familiar domains and discover new ones. So that implies familiar domains might be Ravenloft. It might take me to Ravenloft. It might be a Ravenloft sourcebook. And discover new ones. As Ravenloft's expanded domains of dread return for the first time in the 5th edition. So there are multiple domains. So Ravenloft has multiple domains of dread. I thought Ravenloft was one domain of dread. Am I getting my lore wrong? I thought that the Shadowfell had multiple domains of dread and that Ravenloft was one of them, that where Strahd had been imprisoned by the dark powers. Maybe I'm getting my lore wrong. Because this seems to indicate that Ravenloft has multiple domains of dread within it for the first time in the 5th edition. Actually, Curse of Strahd, the module, has a lot of information about Ravenloft in it, including rules and advice for building custom domains and Dark Lords. Yeah, you've been talking about that. Using established horror tropes or your own special blend. So does that mean, okay. Discover a host of new backgrounds and trinkets themed especially for your horror setting, as well as new character lineages, including the Damp Fur, Hexblood, and Reborn. Okay, probably not changed at all from the Unearthed Arcana. 2 new subclasses, yay. Explore dark gifts for characters that flesh out your place in domains of dread, okay. Encounter a horrific assortment of creatures from the monstrous bestiary. That'll be cool. New monsters will always, always, always be useful for me as a dungeon master. And include, as long as it's not repurposed from other stuff, because they like to do that a lot. they love to just put in the back of modules creatures that have already been published somewhere else, and I already have them all, thank you. And I have D&D Beyond, so I can look them up very quickly, thank you. And includes a brand new adventure. Okay, I wonder what levels it's for. By the way, when they include adventures in source books, it's just a way to pad out the material. Anyway, alt cover. Now the alt cover, which you can't. We're gonna see what we can do here. Oh, look at that! This looks cool. So this is not Van Richten. This is his mentee. I forget her name. It looks like her. What's her name? Somebody got to know her name. Does anybody know who her name is? I'm forgetting offhand. Esmeralda. Thank you. That's it. So that looks like Esmeralda to me. So this looks cool. I like this alt cover. I'm liking that. So I'm happy. That looks pretty cool. My biggest question, am I getting a campaign source book? Is this going to tell me how to run a game in Ravenloft? Is it actually going to have information about running a game in Ravenloft? Does anybody know? It's like, tell me. It's like, it feels like they're beating around the bush. You know, it's like, look at there's all this like fancy marketing talk and stuff, but I, as a consumer, still don't know if they're going to be giving information, lore, and all of this stuff about running a game in Ravenloft. It's talking about, you know, you domains of dread, creating your own, and all this kind of stuff. And I just don't know, based on their official announcement here, whether I'm actually going to get information about Ravenloft lore and stuff like that. Or if they feel they already did that enough in the Curse of Strahd module and it's not needed and would be repetitive. I don't know. Luke, it's D&D 5e. It's all in your imagination. If they included an adventure, the book is either lacking in content or has a high page count. I mean, if they included an adventure, they needed to pad it out a little bit. That's the only reason to put an adventure in these source books, is when you don't have enough content and you have to pad it out. That's why you would put it there. Because you can create endless adventures. Adventures and modules are easy to create. You just keep making more of them. Those are endless. But source content, rules content is more challenging to create. I wonder if they gave, like, if somebody has like a actual copy out there that knows and can actually tell us what's in this stupid book. It's like, I feel like they don't want to tell us what's in the book. Does anybody else get that feeling? It's like they won't tell us what's in the book. Does it include source material from Ravenloft or not? Like, that's all I want to know. I don't, honestly, I don't care about creating my own domain of dread. Like, I can use my own creativity to figure that out. I literally, you guys, I created a new domain of dread this last weekend. Literally did it. One of my gaming groups was going about doing some things, and I thought that maybe I would get an opportunity to have them essentially get sucked into a domain of dread that they would have to get out of. And I literally created a domain of dread this last weekend. And it was fun, it was cool. They did not end up going there. So I'll probably figure out a way in the future to use that content, repurpose it, and have a little adventure to go there. I don't know. I mean, I'm going to order the thing, obviously. I'll get the book, you know, and then we'll probably do a flip through here on stream. and I'll give you my thoughts on it. I just wish Wizards would like actually tell you what's in the friggin' book. Like, is this hard? Is it that hard? Tell us what's in the book. Does it include stuff from Ravenloft or not? Do you see why I'm upset? Like, you're calling it Ravenloft, but in the announcement, you won't actually tell me if it includes stuff from Ravenloft or not. And everything you mention implies it includes stuff not from Ravenloft to create your own stuff. It's like, I don't know what's in your book. It's very frustrating. Wizards of the Coast, buy it and find out. Okay, that was your rant for tonight. I think I've pretty much ranted myself out on that topic. It's really very frustrating. Can you imagine if in my Kickstarter, my Into the Fade Kickstarter, if I didn't tell you what was gonna be in it? I'm all like, hey, you guys, I'm doing a Kickstarter. Go buy it. Hey, look, what's in it? I'm not telling you. Shh, it's a secret. You gotta buy it, and then you're gonna find out what's in it. Selling the sizzle, not the steak, which is concerning. What if there is no steak? Like, if you're only selling the sizzle, maybe there's no steak. Maybe you just got an empty pan that's got some grease left in it and it's popping and cracking and you're just like, doesn't that smell good? Okay, let's do some more questions. What's in the Kickstarter? Fae stuff. It's a bunch of Fae. Oh, it is so fun to pick on morons. Okay, let's keep going. Moderators, if there are any that are exceptional, could you put them in blue, please? I would appreciate that. Yeah, Ed. Ooh, nice. Let's see. What's your opinion on making a character not fully optimized? My example, I'm going to play a monk using his strength instead of dexterity, as his combat stat and having a weak dexterity make it less effective monk from the usual standard. I'm playing a Goliath way of mercy monk. What's my opinion on that? If you want to do that, then do it. Like, I don't care. If you want to play a character that is not fully optimized, that has weaknesses, and you intentionally make them weak, if you want to run a wizard and you want to intentionally have a low intelligence so that the DCs and all this stuff are very low, and that's the way you want to play your wizard, and you have some backstory about how he flunked out of wizard school, but he's like 60 years old now, and he's just kind of learning things, and he like overcame his like lack of intelligence and was able to do it, and you got some reason for it, then sure, knock yourself out. You know, not a big deal. It's your choice. I feel no way either negative or positive about it, because it's your character, it's your choice. You play what you want to play. If that's fun for you, then do it. You know, me personally, like, I love being powerful when I'm a character, and I want to play stuff that's powerful. So I wouldn't do that, but that's just my personal preference. And who cares what Luke thinks? It's your character. You do what you want. You know. The one thing that I will bring up that should be considered, though, is that it is a group game. So your choices affect other people, namely the other characters, the other players in your group. So let's pretend that you make a choice never to use ranged weapons. And let's say that 3 of the other players make a choice to never use ranged weapons. But those are choices that affect everybody else. So if you decide to make yourself weaker and aren't able to carry your own weight, then that is a decision that could affect other people. So I would just be aware of that, you know, make sure that you're able to contribute and pull your own weight. If you make yourself essentially worthless as a character in a game that's a lot of the game is combat, folks, you know, in a game where life and death is on the line, if you make yourself kind of useless, then that could be a concern, you know. I mean, if I had, but that's also something the Dungeon Master can adjust for. If I had a player who was playing a character who, for all intents and purposes, just was not couldn't pull his own weight, so to speak, I would probably just adjust the overall I might not even consider their character. I might discount them 2 levels or something when I'm punching numbers. I don't know. I could adjust for that, you know. So I still don't think it's too big of a deal, but just remember that you're not the only player. You're not the only person at the table. There are other people, and that your decisions do affect others. So I would just keep that in mind. Not as a deterrent to play the character you want, but it's like the dude who's like, he wants to be the edgelord Lone Ranger who never goes, who wants to be antisocial and be off on his own all the time. It's like, well, you know, your decisions now are affecting everybody else at the game table and their ability to play this game. It's kind of like your right to swing your fist ends where the other person's nose begins. You know, there's a point at which your character is no longer compatible with the group either, you know, and you probably need to roll up a new character that can actually play the game with everybody else. So there's probably a line somewhere where you go too far. I don't know exactly where it is, you know, but anyway, there's some thoughts for you. Players can't pull their own weight equals NPCs. I'm not running NPCs. There's no way I'm not having NPCs go along with the group. I hate running NPCs in the group. I don't want to run the good guys. I want to run the enemies, the antagonists. I mean, I'll run the NPCs, you know, out of combat and stuff. Like, but I don't want to have a PC. I don't want to have a character that adventures with the party. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. That's a pain in the butt to me, and it's more stuff I gotta juggle. I don't want to juggle that stuff. I want to play the dungeon master role in the game. That's what I signed up for. That's what I enjoy doing. I don't want to have an NPC adventuring with the group in combat and stuff like that. That's a pain in the butt to me. I don't. And I ask any of my players. Ask any of my players. Half the time in combat, when there's a hireling or an NPC that's supposed to be helping them, I forget about them. They'll be like, my ancient dragons will do this all the time. They'll be like, hey, Luke, what's Cookie been doing for these 3 rounds of combat? And I'm like, Cookie is their intern, their hireling. And I'm just like, oh, what has Cookie been doing? Praying? Because I forget about her. It's an ongoing thing. Any tips for running Curse of Strahd at higher levels? You'd have to adjust the entire adventure to be run at higher levels. You'd have to swap out monsters, put new different monsters in. You'd have to beef Strahd. You'd have to put, I mean, you'd have to do a lot of stuff. And you'd have to account for player abilities, player spells. Fortunately, some of the mechanics of Barovia work to your benefit. Like, there's some like teleportation spells and stuff like that. Scrying, for instance. Because of the way Barovia works, I believe that if you scry within Barovia, there's a chance Strahd can either know about it or make you scry on him instead or something. So there are some character, I forget all the details. I didn't worry about it a whole lot because my players never do that stuff. They're not high enough level. But there are some things built into Barovia that do reduce some of the abilities of higher level parties. But basically you'd have to beef everything up, put new monsters and stuff in, and you would need to think through some of the abilities that players might have. And you might create new limitations in Barovia where Strahd's power, you know, has certain effects or something. But other than that, I mean, I would mostly just be reactive to see what my players do and then adjust it from there. Remember, Strahd is almost like a demigod in Barovia. So you can justify any number of things almost through that as needed to make the game work. But mommy, I think it's more terrifying to run in Barovia at lower level, though. It's more horrific to be low level against these crazy bad guys than to have access to all of your powerful abilities and spells at higher levels and do Barovia, because you're weaker. You don't have all these stuff, you know. What's your favorite questions will not be added into the sheet. Thank you. Android Conceptions, thank you for the Prime. Really appreciate that. Yes, 6 months. Well, thank you. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Or ma'am, I don't know. Person. Thank you, person. Appreciate that. Loco Cereal, thank you for the Prime. Appreciate that. Dude, there we go. Dude can be applied to anybody. That's the safe way to address someone. Dude. Thanks, dude. What is Penguin Butt's least favorite canned good? Spam. Spam! I got it! I got it! Yes! Oh! I should get a star or something. I should get a gold star. I should totally get a gold star. Come on, spam is not that bad. Have you ever had spam pie? Penguin Butt. Have you ever had spam pie? Look it up, Google it. Okay, we're gonna Google spam pie. Are you ready? Spam pie. Here we go. Okay, everybody. You're about to learn something tonight. We're gonna learn something. This is spam pie. Here is spam pie. This is what it looks like when it's done. And this is so there are 3 steps to make spam pie. The first thing you do, that's not it. The first thing you do is you grind up the spam and you put it in the pie filling. And you chunk it up. And then what you do is you take other spam and you liquefy it. And then you dump it. And this big picture right here is the liquefied spam. It's been dumped over the chunks of spam. Okay. And then you sprinkle almonds on it, it looks like. And then you bake it. And that's what you get right there. So that's spam pie, you guys. Don't ask me how I know that. Wouldn't stop you from trying it. Wolfpool, what's up? How you doing? Those look gross. They look very gross. Very, very gross. They look horrific. So now we know how the pie from the windmill in Barovia looks like. Dude, one of my players, Joe, he wants to go to that windmill so bad. He wants to go there so bad. He keeps calling it the orphanage. Here's the thing. Joe and I were players in a Curse of Strahd game like years ago. And Joe has been to the windmill before. Joe knows exactly what's at the windmill. And it is a terrifying, horrifying thing that's at the windmill. And the group is not ready for it by any means whatsoever. I'm ready for it though. I've prepped it because they keep on talking about it. So I'm ready for them to go to the windmill when they want to go to the windmill. But it is not going to be a good day for them when they decide to go to the windmill. At all. At all. No, Joe doesn't want to intentionally TPK the party. Joe wants to go to that windmill. I think part of I think what Joe wants, Joe's the one playing what's his character's name? The Wizard. What's the wizard's name? Somebody help me. What's Joe's name in my Curse of Strahd game? His character's name. Somebody knows. I had a group that went there at like level 3 and we all died. Eyes, that's right, Eyes. Okay. I think the reason he wants to go there is he wants a rematch. Like he died, like our whole party wiped at the windmill like years ago. And I think he wants a rematch to see if they're able to do it this time. I think that's what he wants. All right. Running a one-on-one session. Okay, one-on-one session for my buddy tomorrow. Any advice for running one-on-one sessions? One-on-one sessions are run the exact same way pretty much that you run any game session, except literally you prepare a game session, you prepare an adventure where you know there's one player, there's one character, and you balance the encounters for that one character. That's pretty much the dealio. I don't think there's anything exceptional. They're not going to have access. They're going to be like one character, so they don't have access to a whole bunch of abilities and stuff like that. So you don't want to build an adventure where, like, if you can't pick a lock, you're screwed, you know. But usually, but see, even then, it's like most things in the game, you know, have different ways to overcome them, and a player with some creativity and thoughtfulness can figure it out. So I ran one-on-one game sessions for like a year or so back when I was in high school with my buddy Dane, and I don't remember anything about it. But I designed our adventures the same way that I would normally do it. I don't think I have any particular advice for it. You're still just running D&D, only there's one player. You have to balance stuff for it. You could get, if you want, he could run two characters. You might give him some hirelings or something. You could always do that if you wanted to, but it's not necessary. Be careful with action economy. Be very careful with action economy. I guess I do have some advice. If you have one PC, and let's say he's like a level 5, and there are like 5 goblins, that could, and you could even say the 5 goblins aren't that hard, but because there's 5 of them, their action economy is crazy compared to the one PC. This is what happens. Anybody who's been in a game where the dungeon master is like, ah, here's the bad guy, and it's like one creature, it's like one solo bad guy. Everybody knows what happens when the dungeon master puts one solo bad guy down. The melees engage, they surround and pound, the spellcaster and archer are back here smoking them, and this one big bad guy usually dies in 1 or 2 rounds maybe, and he's done. It doesn't matter if he was a deadly encounter, he's done, he's toast, because he cannot compare to the action economy of everybody else. He's just dead. So the converse is true too. If you have one PC and there are like 5 goblins or hobgoblins, they have action economy like nobody's business. It doesn't matter what the CR says. You got to think there are 5 on 1. That's huge, regardless of what the math says. So if you got one character, consider only having 1 or 2 bad guys at any given time that they would go against, because for action economy's sake. So I think that's probably a balancing thing that I would recommend. Oh, the goblins would attack and disengage. Oh, the goblins would tear him apart. You're right, they totally would. Yeah. That's where minions come in. That's exactly where minions come in. Gotta use minions. One character wizard 5 versus 5 bad guys equals fireball. Yeah, but true, but you only have so many fireballs. The one good thing from Tasha's sidekicks. Yeah, sidekicks are good. I really want D&D Beyond to put sidekicks into the framework, into the mechanics, so I can use them. I'm not gonna follow the stupid rules out of the book without being able for D&D Beyond to support it. So I can't wait till they get that implemented. Since my games are all online right now, you know. Refill coffee. Yeah, that's probably got to happen sometime soon. We'll get there. I bought Tasha's. I did a flip through of Tasha's on stream, and we mocked a lot of it. And I was like, yeah, there's not a whole lot of content here for dungeon masters. Not a whole lot here for dungeon masters to use. A lot of cool, overpowered stuff for players, though. All right, we got that one. Something I wanted to try to do is make a big bad that evolves or grows stronger over time. But I'm not entirely sure how to go about it. Should it be a story-based thing depending on how the party behaves? Should it be time-based? Should it be based on the party and their skill set? Or should it be a sort of arms race between the players and Big Bad? I'm not sure what the best way to go about it is. The best way to go about it is don't... I'm making some assumptions. I'm assuming your players never actually fight the Big Bad at earlier levels. If they do, there's a good chance they're going to kill him, and then you're not going to have any Big Bad. So I'm assuming that it's just this mysterious Big Bad that the players hear about, and he's going to be constantly growing in power. and as the players are doing things in the game world. I did that once before. That was Lord Paxton. And the way that I did that is I don't stat him until they're actually going to fight him. And that's all I do. If my players are not actually going to fight the big bad, if they're not going to encounter him and fight him, then I'm not creating stat blocks for him. Like, I'm not going to spend 3 years of game, you know, statting and restatting the big bad over and over and over again to have him grow with the party. If they're never going to fight him, I never stat him. When they get to like level 17 or whatever it is, when they're actually going to fight the big bad of the entire campaign, that's when I decide what his stats are. And then I make them appropriate to whatever the level that they happen to be. Now, if you plan on having them actually confront the big bad throughout the campaign, you have bigger problems on your hand than figuring out how to make him grow alongside. You need to figure out how to make him survive. How is he going to get away? How is he not going to get destroyed? And how can you do that without it seeming cheesy and cheap? Oh, look it, he just managed to get away again. I mean, after the 3rd or 4th time that the big bad gets away, I mean, as a player, I would just be like, this is stupid. He gets away every time. I'm not even gonna fight him. You know what, you guys, let's just not fight. Just run away. We've done this 3 times before. We've done it 3 times. 3 times it's happened. We fight, we almost defeat you, and then you leave. So listen, Mr. Big Bad, you know that we're probably gonna come very close to defeating you, and you're gonna have to run away. So let's just skip the theatrics. How about you just run away now, and we don't fight, and we say we did. You know what? I can even reduce my hit points on my character sheet if you want me to. And then we can take a long rest after this and call it a day. So it's like, how many times are you gonna have a big bad confrontation and have them get away before the players are just like, they're gonna see through the sham. They're gonna see through it. They're gonna be like, okay, this is a mechanic the game master has put into the game so that we will constantly find the big bad, and he keeps getting more powerful each time, and he keeps on getting away, and eventually there's gonna be some climactic conclusion where we fight him. Like, I just don't see how that's satisfying, because it becomes obvious at a certain point what the dungeon master is doing. You know what I mean? And it takes away the verisimilitude, and I can no longer believe in it. You know, I know it's a game mechanic at that point. I can't defeat him until the dungeon master decides that now is the time that he can be defeated. So it's like, yeah, I don't see that being satisfying. Yeah. So I don't know if I answered your question. I talked about some stuff though. Just narratively talk about him growing and becoming more powerful, but don't stat him out until you're actually ready to have the players fight him, I guess is what I say. Once, maybe twice, the big bad bails. Maybe twice, yeah. Dude, it is exceedingly hard to get a bad guy to escape and not cheat, so to speak. Now, the dungeon master can't really cheat. They can kind of do what they want and stuff, but it can still feel lame and like very unsatisfying when the dungeon master pulls horse crap to get the bad guy to get away when they should not have gotten away. And players can feel it and recognize it a lot of times too. It's like you're not fooling them. They probably have a feeling that he shouldn't have gotten away, but he had plot armor because the dungeon master had future plans for him, and so he got away. You know, so that's a rough one. That's tricky to pull off. I've had bad guys where I was like, I wanted to make them a reoccurring bad guy, and I even had complicated escape mechanics and ways to have them get away, and still couldn't get away. The players still just figured it out and managed. Now, I will say though, that when your bad guys have, what is it? Plane shift. When your bad guys have plane shift, like Gith Yankee, it is very, very, very easy to get away. Especially when the wizard has depleted all of their counter spells. Then if you have plane shift, if you have dimension door, then that makes getting away a lot easier. Or in the case of something like night hags, they can go into the ethereal plane at will, so they can easily get away like that, and they're gone. So some bad guys, because of their abilities or spells they can cast, yes, pretty easy for them to get away. I've had, in my Ancient Dragon campaign, I've had Githyanki get away multiple occasions through plane shift. Over and over, twice, actually, twice now. I have had a bad guy, Tolikansky, he's gotten away twice now. My players encountered him first when they were like about level 5, I think, and they stole some swords from him, and then they stole some other stuff, and they fought Tolikansky, but he got away, and he came back like about an hour later with some reinforcements that attacked them because they took a short rest in the dungeon, and then they fought him again, but Tolikansky didn't engage. Then he got away, so Tolikansky got away. They got their crap, they got the swords and stuff, but Tolikansky got away. And then Tolikansky did some stuff, and they just recently, this last game session, like a few days ago, fought Tolikansky for the second time. And wouldn't you know it, for the second time, Tolikansky used plane shift and he got away. And so now this is the second time he's gotten away. And my players, well, the first time they didn't have counterspell. This time they're at level 8, so they had counterspell. But the wizard was like, either he didn't have it memorized, or I think he was out of spell slots. I think he was totally out of spell slots, so he couldn't even cast it. So he got away for the second time. So it is possible. And it's not like I wasn't even planning on him being some reoccurring villain. Like, he got away the first time just because I was role-playing an enemy in an intelligent way, and he doesn't want to die. So he got away the first time, and the players did some things to take him off, and so he's going to get revenge. He did some stuff to get revenge, and the players were like, no, we're going to get you. They go after him, and then he got away a second time. And I guarantee you, if they just let matters sit and don't track him down, that he is not gone. He's not gone from their lives. Tolikansky is going to he's going to be doing some more nasty stuff to them. Guarantee you. Hey, Kifa, thanks for the raid, dude. Appreciate that. All right, there. I talked. What is my preferred method for stat rolling? Do you use point buy or 4d6, remove the lowest, or 3d6, reroll ones, or other variations therein? So there are two ways that I've done stat rolling with my groups in 5th edition. The first one, the first way is just point buy, 27 point buy. And then the second way is rolling, 4d6, drop the lowest. And statistically, what happens is when you roll the dice to get stats, statistically, you're going to get higher numbers. You get much higher numbers a lot of times. Or you get screwed. And some people get screwed. So when I was doing rolling the dice for stats, I would find some people got amazing stats and some people got screwed. And I didn't like that. I personally, when I'm a player, I like rolling for my stats. I think it's more interesting than point buy. I also feel disappointed when I get low numbers, but I can live with it. I can still play a character with non-optimal stats. It's not, I'll live, you know. I just make Gary the intern or something. But when I'm a dungeon master, I prefer, now having done it point buy and then having done it roll for stats, I prefer point buy. And I have several reasons for preferring point buy. First of all, there is not a disparage, disparance? I don't know. There's a word there. There is a, when you use the dice rolling, some players have wonderful stats. Other players get screwed and have horrible stats. Disparity. Thank you. That's the word, disparity. You see, I'm trying to use this big word and my bad pronunciation screws me over. When you use point buy, there is not a disparity between people's stats. Everybody is on an even playing field. Everybody can have good stats here, bad stats here, whatever. It's point buy. Everybody has an even playing field. When you're rolling dice, then some people get screwed. Some people make out like bandits. That's the first thing that I don't like about rolling dice. It's you know, it's not fair, so to speak. It's realistic, it's organic, yes, agreed, but it just feels crappy when somebody rolls horribly. You know, as a dungeon master, I'm just like, oh, he got screwed. And I can tell that he doesn't like it. And it's like, oh, you know, that's one reason. Second reason, when you're making backup characters, it's so much easier to just use point buy because no, I'm not gonna trust you to roll the dice on your own in the honor system. No, it's not happening. Like, I have to observe your dice rolling. Now, if you're rolling hit points or something, that's not that big of a deal, you know. But for the most important stats in the game, I'm watching those dice, baby. I'm gonna watch them. So if you're away from the table and you want to make a backup character or something, and you have to roll the dice, it just makes it more difficult because, like, I have to observe it, you know. Whereas if it's point buy, then it's like, well, it's point buy, you know. Can't cheat on that, you know. So it makes it easier to make up backup characters. So that's the other reason. So I use point buy. I use point buy. Almost out of coffee here. Have you ever gotten into other aspects of the hobby, mini painting, terrain, and so on? I'm really getting into building terrain pieces. It can be I do mini painting. I don't do terrain. So these are examples of some minis that I've painted, and my camera is not set. It's not set to focus, so you're not gonna be able to see these very well. Sorry, but these are some minis I painted. I'm okay-ish at painting minis. I love having cool painted minis that I painted myself, not the cheap China crap. It's like 3 colors. It's like, okay, let's get like a slave sweatshop going and everybody's painting minis in 3 colors. No, thank you. Yeah, so I like painting my own minis. Hot Mitts, thank you for another gifted sub. Being a rookie? Oh, it's okay. It's okay, Katie. I'm a rookie too. I'm hungry too. I do put a matte varnish. Chewy, what's up, Chewy? How you doing, man? Chewy paints minis. I do put a matte varnish on. I put a gloss on first because it protects better than matte, and then I put a matte on afterwards. They're still a little shiny. I just don't care enough. I'm like, you know, I'm a big proponent of the 80-20 rule. You know, the Pareto principle, where you accomplish 80% of the results with 20% of the effort, and after that your returns are just like, you know, there's like the curve of like effort to results begins to like taper off and trend toward an asymptote somewhere, an asymptote somewhere. And so like after 20% of the effort, I'm done. I'm tapping out. I'm moving on to the next thing. And so mini painting, it's like I'll take it to where I feel that it's good enough and then I'm done. So I'm never going to be like a super spectacular person. Fire Giant Dreadnought. I have a Fire Giant that I did. Let me show you my Fire Giant. It's not a Dreadnought, but it's a Fire Giant. There you go. I don't have this camera set up. The focus is not set up for minis today. It's just set up for my coffee. So you're not gonna be able to see a whole lot here, but anyway, it's my Fire Giant. Hi, Squeaky. He wants snack. Yeah, it's a big one. It's a huge one. It's the size giants are supposed to be. Oh, you're doing it as a frost ogre? Oh, cool. Awesome. All right, let's do, we have a bunch of questions here. I'll get to these things. Jovial GM. That's cool. I've got 35 years of GM experience, but I've been told I have a face that's perfect for radio. Should I start a YouTube channel? I don't know. I feel like your success on YouTube, for anybody who starts a YouTube channel, your success has far less to do with how pretty you are and way more to do with lots of other things. Like, dude, there are some people on YouTube that do YouTube. They are not very good people. They're not physically attractive people, and they're very, very successful on YouTube. So physical attractiveness does not determine your success on YouTube. You know, it might determine your success if you're modeling or something, but that's not what YouTube's all about. YouTube is about either entertaining people or providing information to people and helping people, you know. Those are the two gamuts you're gonna have, or maybe a combination of both. And there are lots of very unattractive people that are very successful on YouTube, so. Oh, that's not a book. That's not a book, that's a plaque. You guys wanna see that? This is I have this on my bookcase. Man cave. No working during drinking hours. It's on my bookcase. It's like literally behind me all the time when I do my videos. But you just can't see it because I'm in front of it. You want to know a secret though? In this basement right here, pretty much every hour is working hour. So that plaque is almost backwards. Physical attraction is not charisma. Yes, that is very important, Sky Harpy. That is very, very important. Charisma is not solely dependent upon your physical attractiveness at all. At all. You could have somebody with, like, you know, okay-ish good looks, with like zero personality, leadership and stuff, no social skills, and they're just gonna, you know. Or you could have somebody who's just like butt ugly, but they have charisma, because charisma is way more than just what you look like. You know? So yeah, that's definitely a thing for sure. But charisma does definitely help. Charisma does help when you're doing like YouTube and stuff or streaming or whatever. Charisma definitely helps. Talking, being able to talk, being social, you know, being a likable person, you know, developing relationships with people and crap, like all of that is very, very useful stuff. Having a personality, not being dry, monotonous, and boring, all that stuff helps. Although there are people that like dry, monotonous, boring people, looks like. Who knows? All right, let's do a cat strike. Let's give my kitty cats some treats. Where is this? Manage. Somebody redeemed a cat strike, right? Yes, cat strike. Hot Mitts called in a cat strike. All right, let's do this. Here we go. And they are swarming. I don't know what's going on. We only got 3. It's kind of disappointing. I don't know where the little guy is. Little guy! Where's little guy? Little guy! I don't know where the little guy is. right. I'm gonna go bio. I'll be right back. Enjoy the cats. I don't know where little Ed. I'll see if I can find little guy. No promises.
Le gusta el roce, le gusta tanto. Está puesta pa' bellaquear. Hablando de eso, ya se lo canto. Yo sé que quieres más y yo no sé, pero tu actitud me pone a soñar. Me pide más y más hasta que haga calor. Ella quiere jugar al ritmo de esta canción. Al ritmo. Se le ve la timidez, engañosa si la ves. Parece una santa pero en la disco tremenda mujer. Poca ropa y calor, son curvas que dan ardor. No le eche la culpa a las luces, al dragón ni tampoco al sol. No me tagues en tus historias que se van a enterar. Y estás conmigo y tus amigas se van a interesar. Me pide más y más hasta que haga calor. Ella quiere jugar al ritmo de esta canción. Como cuando perreas.
I found little guy.
Me tienes bien loquito por ti y eso me encanta. Y como Fanta, eres exótica y criminal.
Little guy.
No me tagues en tus historias.
Here you go, Ed, just for you. My daughter had to go upstairs and get him from. He was sleeping in my bed. Little guy. There's some more right there. Right there. Here we go. Ooh. Oh, Jovial. Yeah, dude, totally. I started playing D&D with 2nd edition. And that's what that was my original edition. And I did 3.5. I really liked 3.5. I liked the 3.5 rules and stuff. And there are things I miss from 3.5. I've never played 4th edition. And then now, obviously, I do 5th edition. My wife found the barbarian's murder of me hilarious. Oh, you mean from that drawing? Wait a second. Wait, what are you talking about? In that drawing? Okay. I was thinking of something. Okay, gotcha. I think a lot of people skipped 4th edition. That is why, who's the company that makes Pathfinder? Oh, geez, why am I drawing a blank on this? The company that makes Pathfinder. Somebody please post it, I'm a moron. Paizo, thank you. So, you guys, Paizo probably wouldn't even be a force except 4th edition. Wizards of the Coast was like, hey, let's do 4th edition. And people were like, hey, you suck. And then Paizo got rich. They were bigger than D&D before 5th edition came out. That's how bad 4th edition was. It dethroned them as the world's greatest role-playing game, or at least the most popular one. Like, good call on 4th edition. I'm sure there were some scapegoats that lost their jobs over that. Oh, the feat ladders? Yeah, and the archetypes and stuff, where you basically had to plan out exactly what you were going to take at each level in order to get certain things. Yeah, I got you. The things I miss about 3.5 are the skills. Like, it feels, I just enjoyed when I level up, I get different skills. I can increase my skills and stuff. I know they were broken. I know they were broken. I know you could do things like make a grappler who was impossible to resist, and I know it was broken. Like, the biggest complaints about 3.5, I think, are how broken some of the things could get, you know, but there were really cool stuff. I like this as a whole. I like the system, like the mechanics of the system. I think they're really cool. There are issues, of course. Yeah. All right, let's go back to our spreadsheet. All right. I'm about to start running a game for a bunch of new players. Do you think it would be better to run some one-shots to ease them into, or a longer campaign? What's the difference? Like, what's the difference? What's the difference? Like, hello, we're gonna play 4 one-shots where you're like first level, and then you're second level, and then we'll make you third level, and then we'll be third level. There, we just ran some one-shots. Whee! Okay, now that we're done with our one-shots, let's run an actual campaign where you're first level, and then second level, and then third level. It's like, what's the difference? I just start running the game. I would just start running the game, and they're gonna learn, and they might die, and they might make new characters. And guess what? You know what the beautiful thing? Do you know what the beautiful thing about dying quickly as a new player is? If it happens, they learn that it's part of the game, and they don't get their all whacked out of shape when they die for the first time, and they're like, my precious character. Like, it is a good thing for players to learn quickly that in the game of Dungeons and Dragons, sometimes your characters die, and it's okay, and the game goes on. And you don't need to go cry in a corner. You don't gotta rage quit. You don't gotta stomp off and throw a temper tantrum like a little child. It's okay. You will die. It's part of the game. And it's okay. Because guess what? Creating new characters is fun and exciting. So, sorry, a little impromptu rant there. There's nothing wrong with dying. And when I was running a game for my youngling group, like I've been running a game for my youngling group. They're teenagers now, but we started out when they were about 12 or so. I made it a point to allow them the opportunity to die if it came up, because I wanted them to learn early that it is a thing. It happens. It's okay. Put on your big boy or girl pants and live with it. Because there are some adults that can't handle their characters dying, and they throw fits like little children, and it's sad. It's very, very sad. So I don't know how I got in this rant, how I got in this topic. So if you got new players, just run the campaign. And if they have trouble and they die, it's okay. It's an opportunity to introduce them to the idea of death being a thing, because hello, you're in a game that has combat all the time, and you're fighting for your life. So yeah, you might die from time to time. So it's okay to introduce them to that idea early on, so they get used to it, and they can make new characters, and they can, I love dying. You guys, I get to make a new character. Right now, in my Descent into Avernus game, I have been playing the same paladin for months. You know how boring it gets to play the same stupid character every game session? Like, I want to just almost send Juice, the dungeon master, a message that says, hey Juice, could you kill my paladin so I can play a new character? Come on, I just gave you cat treats. cat just puked over there. I want to send Juice a message and be like, hey dude, kill my paladin so that I can play something else, because it's boring after a while playing the same stupid character every game. I don't know, that's just me. That's just my thoughts on it. So yeah, it's okay, you know, and if they die, then they get to make a new character, and then they can learn how fun it is to play a variety of characters. And they don't, and they learn different aspects of the game. They learn different things. They learn different stuff, you know, and they might find a character they enjoy more than when they started with. But if you never kill them, they'll never learn. They'll never discover different aspects and parts of the game. So I'm not saying intentionally kill them. I'm just saying allow it to happen. Don't protect them. You're not actually doing them a favor by protecting them from dying. You're doing them a disservice in several ways. You are. Okay, thank you. Oh, I didn't start the recording. Arrgh. Dude, somebody, no, Dan. I blame Dan. Is Dan here? I blame Dan. I don't even care if he's here. I blame him. Is Dan still here? Now he's being quiet. He won't admit to being here. I know he was when we started. I don't know if he's still here or not. Oh, is your name Dan too? What's up, Snapbragger? Good to see you, dude. Leopold, all of that said, if you want to do one-shots, there's nothing wrong with that. There's literally nothing wrong with it. You could do it either way. It doesn't matter. It's your choice. I'm just telling you my personal thoughts on it or whatever. Oh, I can get it from the VOD. Here's the thing. Here's the reason I don't like getting it from the VOD on Twitch. Sometimes I'll download the VOD from Twitch, and then when I put it back on YouTube, like it gets corrupted, it doesn't work, and it does a whole bunch of stupid bullcrap. And so usually what I do is I just record it on my end, and then I don't have to worry about the Twitch VOD getting screwed up. So usually, yeah, I just record it myself, and I don't got to download it. And the file size that comes from Twitch is way smaller than if I record it on my end, which tells me almost assuredly that Twitch is reducing the quality of the VOD recording that I'm getting, and I prefer to have the higher quality one. Have you ever killed a player character out of spite? Just because I was like angry with them or something? I have definitely killed player characters. There have definitely been times I feel like where I could have gone either way, save them or let them die. But the players, something about the player just probably annoyed me or ticked me off. And I was like, you know what? No, forget about it now. Now you're going to die. You know what I mean? Like if they were in a bad situation, because the dungeon master can always intervene and save them if they want to, or you can just let things play out naturally, and if they die, they die. So the dungeon master, or you could go to the extreme and intentionally kill them. I've never done that before. But there have probably been times where a player just annoyed me or said something to me or something, and I was just like, okay, fine. No mercy, baby. I'm going to see if I can kill you. I'm not gonna cheat, but I'm gonna see if you So yeah, I'm sure I've done that before. Actions have consequences. Oh, lots of my players have died because of consequences when they do things that probably would not be a good idea to do. We had, so in my last Ancient Dragon game session, this last Saturday, we had one player was turned to stone, petrified, and the party could not do anything about it, and they had to run away from a bunch of bad guys that were coming. They had to flee from the astral plane to a different plane of existence, and they had to leave the petrified player behind because he's petrified. Stone weighs like 10 times or something as much as the equivalent amount of flesh, so we figured that he weighed about 2,000 pounds. There's no way they can take 2,000 pounds with them. Not possible. So they left him behind. And then as they were fleeing from the astral plane to a different plane of existence, they don't know where they are yet. One of the players was going through the portal trying to take the gems with him that held the portal open so the bad guys couldn't come after them. And as he was pulling the gems out, the portal closed on one of his arms and amputated his arm off, like mid bicep. So he lost an arm fleeing from the bad guys. So in that one game session, we had one player get petrified and another player lost his left arm. So it was and they just barely got away. So it was a fun game session. Those times when you just barely get away, even though one of them didn't get away, those are some of the best game sessions. Those are fun. The players had fun too. I love the subtle yet maniacal laugh at the end of that story. Luke's new character. I don't have a new character. Oh, if they kill my paladin? Have you thought about streaming your Ancient Dragon sessions? I thought about it. Two concerns with streaming. First of all, my Ancient Dragon game sessions, these guys pay a lot of money to play D&D with me. Okay? So the first and most important thing for me is that we're running a fun game and they all feel comfortable and relaxed and are having fun. If we're streaming it in front of an audience, then some people aren't quite as comfortable with that. They might be a little self-conscious. You know what I mean? When you have a bunch of people, when you have like a lot of people watching you, you become different. It's not the same experience as when you're just playing with a small group of people. An audience changes things. And so my concern is these guys are paying to play and I want them to have fun and enjoy themselves. If we make there be an audience, then that changes the dynamics a little bit and could affect their enjoyment of the game. So that's the first thing. That's the primary thing. And there were some players that were not interested in streaming it and just didn't want to do it. And so I'm like, okay, that's cool. We're not going to do it then. And in all honesty, it's easier for me not to have to stream the thing. It's so much easier. And there's less pressure for me to, I don't have to stream it and worry about an audience. So it's just more like So no, it's not streamed. We do record them and then people who are in the reserve can watch them, but we don't stream them, no. Are you tired of your paladin? Oh, is he actually here? Are you tired of your paladin? We will see if he makes it past his next part on Saturday night. Oh my gosh, I didn't know you were here. I didn't think you'd listen. Oh, my paladin's gonna die. If you kill my paladin, I will rage quit. Some people really do let the stream affect how they play the player-run games. They do, yeah. I try not to for my Sword Coast Guard game, but I know people are watching, so it's a little, it changes it. It makes it a little bit different. It does. Ed says, I tweeted him about it. You did? Are you serious? Oh man, I am never going to put little guy on camera again. That's justice for you, sir. Oh, thanks, Juice. Even when I'm just eating popcorn, I'm sitting there, just eating popcorn. Everybody's doing their thing. You probably know that I just like combat. That's like the most fun part of the game for me is combat. Which we're in Descent into Avernus, so it's a good thing. Yeah. You like my popcorn? Do we have a game coming up? I thought we have a game coming up at some point, don't we? When's our next game? I know you said you had to go, so feel free. Is it this Saturday? Okay, cool. Oh yeah. Okay, sweet. I always have popcorn in our game. All right, we'll see you, dude. I know you had to go get dinner. All right. Ed, Penguin Butt, can you do something horrible to Ed? He betrayed the trust of the stream. what I say on live stream is supposed to be, you know, stays on live stream. And he's like breaking that barrier. All right, Penguin Butt. Can you give me 50 different options? I want like a 1 through 50 different proposals of horrible things we can do to Ed on my desk by tomorrow morning, okay? No, not really. Don't know. Is that like the first rule of Fight Club? That's the first rule of the stream. Yes. You're it's okay, Ed. I'm happy to die and roll up a new character. But the problem is that Paladin is so hard to kill. That's the problem. All right. So I'm currently playing in a Star Wars campaign, and it seems like he forces combat on us. We have 2 hours to play, and we spent the first hour of the last session planning our base. Next hour, we spent infiltrating a base. Okay. For what it's worth, I'm a hidden Jedi, so an Inquisitor approached me at the end. I got a bad roll in convincing that I hadn't seen one. They asked me to follow them, I did, and was instantly attacked. Our GM said, well, it was going well. Why not? Should I have to chat him about this? I mean, the fact that you are asking me, the fact that you're telling me about something that happened that doesn't sit well with you, and that you're wondering if you need to talk with your dungeon master about it, it almost tells me that, yeah, you probably should. Like, I don't understand exactly what you're asking me or whatever, but yeah, if something happened that didn't fit well with you, then you could talk with him. Yeah. Just have a conversation or something. That's fine. It's like, here's the thing. When something bad happens that you don't like in a game, you have 2 options. Well, you technically have 3 options. Option number 1, don't say or do anything about it and live with it. That's a valid option. You know, not every battle is worth fighting. So if you don't like the way something is going, you can live with it and just keep your mouth shut. And don't expect anything to change though. Next option, you can go talk to the dungeon master or a player if it happens to involve a player, and hopefully you can explain things, talk about it, and maybe something will change. That's another option too. Third option, you can just quit the game. You could. It's probably the extreme option. It doesn't sound like you're at that point, you know. But essentially, either you can go talk to him or not. But if you don't and you decide to live with it, there's nothing wrong with living with it. If you accept that that's the way it is and you're okay with it, you don't have to fight every battle. Not every little tiny thing that happens in the world that upsets somebody needs to have a big conversation. You know, choose your battles, choose the things that are important to talk about and resolve, and which ones you can just live with and get over and not worry about. And that's okay. CVBL says, should I play D&D before DMing? I've never played before, but I have studied rules and watched. Okay, here's the thing. This is the chicken and the egg scenario, right? It's like somewhere back in time when nobody had ever played D&D, somebody had to be the dungeon master first, having never played the game before. And every single day, all across the world, I guarantee you, there are people that are being a dungeon master or a game master in a different system for the first time ever, and they've never actually played the game before. They may have obviously read the rule books, watched other people play, have a decent idea of how things work, but they've never actually played the game before. Because here's what happens. It is a fact. It is a very, very big fact that there are far fewer people willing to be game masters than there are people who want to play the game. So what that means is that, like, not a lot of people want to be game masters, but lots of people want to play the game. So there's probably lots of players that just can't get games or find games because there aren't enough game masters. So if you wait to try to play the game before you can ever be a game master, you might not get that opportunity, or you might get into a crappy game or have a bad experience, or who knows what it is. But the point is, what am I saying? What's the point? The point is that, like, somebody's got to run the game. whether you've played the game before or not played the game before, like, I don't think it matters. Like, it's okay, run the game. Just do it. Step out there, run the game, and be that game master. You know, be one of the few game masters who will run the game for the players who all want to play but don't want to be game masters themselves. So there's nothing wrong with being a game master before you actually have played the game before. Would it be better to play the game first? One could argue that it might be better. But imagine this. Imagine you get into a game as a player and your dungeon master sucks and is horrible. How much is that actually benefiting you? But of course, one might say, if you've never played the game before and you're just going into being a game master, you might be that game master who sucks and is horrible. I present to you that probably 90% or more of first-time game masters are horrible regardless of what they do. Like, it's the first time you're doing something. My wife and I are learning to shoot handguns, and we went to the range last weekend, or the weekend before. No, last weekend. Yeah, just this last weekend. And I'm telling you what, it's a brand new skill, something you're learning, and it is not as easy as you would think it is. It's not. And we were using a 22. They didn't even have us using a 9mm or anything. We're just using a 22, and it was almost no recoil or anything. It's not as easy as you think it is. All right. You guys. I'm gonna show you my my sheet, my chart. All right, check this out. This is my wife and me. I don't want to block the microphone. My wife and me shared this. So you see all of these? These are mostly mine. I was shooting left and low, so most of this is mine. I mean, I had a few that might have scattered a little bit. Now look at this. Do you see all of this stuff? You see all of these? You see this? All of these are my wife's. You know, it's a brand new skill. It's a brand new skill. You know, by the way, this was 5 yards away. 5 yards. Okay, that's very, very close. You know, so this is, you know, not that tough probably, you know, but she's learning a brand new skill. It's really hard for her. She was just learning for the first time, you know. So, you're a new game master. You might not be that great. Most new game masters are probably not that great at it. And you get better with time and with practice. So, I don't think it doesn't make sense to not be a game master, to wait to be a player first, when there are so many people who want to be players, and there are so few people who want to be game masters. If you want to be a game master, just do it, jump into it, start being a game master. And if it's what you enjoy and what you want to do, then do it. Don't let the fact that you've never played the game before stop you. Don't let that be an impediment. Could it be beneficial to play first? Sure. But just go for it, dude. Just do it. No, 5 yards is about 5 meters. A yard and a meter is almost the same. Yeah, it's not very far away. It's not very far away at all. At all. and that's a stationary target. That's a target that's not even moving. And there's like no recoil on like a 22, you know? It was far more challenging than I would have thought. Far more challenging than I would ever would have believed. And I was able to group it pretty well, you know, the big hole that was there. But it was still it was still like bang, and then aim, look at your sights, figure it out, bang, figure it out. You know what I mean? You were thinking about it. You were, you know, first time ever doing it, so it took a while too. It was tons of fun though. It's very expensive. It's very expensive. Bullets, the range time, and all that kind of stuff. My wife said afterwards she almost. We were using it was a 22 with it was a semi-automatic with 10 round clip, and after the first 10 rounds, she told me after we were driving home, she was like, you know what? After those first 10 rounds, I almost quit. I almost put the gun down and was like, I can't do this anymore. It's her nerves too. She was all nervous and stuff like that, you know. But she'd actually said she had put the gun down and she was about ready to like say that she didn't want to do it anymore. And then she was like, no, I'm gonna look like a wuss. I'm gonna look like a big wuss, because we had paid for a private lesson too. We had like a private instructor and everything that was teaching us. And she's like, I don't want to look like a big wuss. And so she picked it back up and she kept on going. So yeah, it was fun. We had a lot of fun. Yes, malicious advice. That was one of the things that I was doing is the handgun that we had. Sorry, this is taking a big detour from D&D. I have small hands. My hands are not that big. And the handgun that we had was really too big for us. And so you're supposed to put the back part of the pistol like right in the webbing and have it align with your bone down your hand, so that like the recoil goes right down your arm. But doing that, my finger could not reach the trigger properly. Like I could barely get the trigger. And so I had to twist my hand like this to even be able to get the trigger. And then the back part of the pistol is going toward my thumb more, which is bad. You know, and then I wasn't getting enough of my finger on that trigger, so I was pulling the trigger wrong. And when you pull the trigger wrong, it causes it to move a little bit and stuff. So yeah, my wife is smaller than me, so she's got even smaller hands. And so afterward, the instructor was like, yeah, you guys got small hands. This gun is probably too big for you. And then he took us and he showed us, it was a Glock X43. Was that what it was? Glock 43X or something? Let me look it up. Glock 43X. Yeah, it was a Glock 43X, which is a smaller, more compact gun. And he showed us that one and it was like, oh, this is perfect. It fit just perfectly. I didn't have to reach. I could hold it just right. It was beautiful. So yeah, that was looking very, very nice. Good way to break a thumb. I could imagine. We were using a 22, so there's like no recoil. But yeah, if you had a bigger gun, yeah, like a 9mm or something, yeah. But we obviously we're holding with the two hands, you know, like you're supposed to and stuff like that. So, lady killer, the Glock. What does that mean? Small hands, small gloves. What up, Pakan? I don't know where you're going with that, dude. If you were shooting down and to the left, I was. Yep. And you're right. Right. It means you were shooting more with the tip of your finger. Yeah, because I couldn't reach it. Well, yeah, I was having a hard time reaching it for sure. Like I would have it, you know, whatever, like this, you know, and then it was hard to reach it. And so I had to rotate it. But I was definitely shooting down and left. Just a little bit down and left. And consistently down and left. And the instructor, he was trying to help correct me and do all these things. And it's my first time, so I'm just like, eventually he was just like, you know what? Just aim a little bit higher and to the right so that you can put it on the X. And it worked. I just compensated a little bit and it worked. But yeah. A 45? Pa let me shoot his 45. Let me tell you, gunslingers who used those were hosses. Dude. Well, also, they were like, what do you call them? Single fire or whatever, where you gotta like hit the hammer every single time? What do they call those? Single action. They were single action, right? So you'd have to hit the hammer every single time for the old fashioned like Wild West ones. So you're only holding that handgun with one hand. You know what I mean? That's nuts. Oh, a lady killer is a nickname for a very small gun. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, that's probably what we'll have. You had to use two hands. Oh, a 44 Magnum. Dude, I could not. Holy crap. Shooting handguns is different than a rifle. Handguns are more about finger placement and pulling smooth. Yeah, our instructor was definitely emphasizing the finger placement, you know, wanting to get everything just right, and then doing a pull smooth on. He's like slow and smooth on the trigger and stuff, because if you don't, you know, it's gonna cause the sights a little. And it was amazing too, like just moving those sights at Tidgeon, you know, you're like definitely way off. He goes, oh, when you shot a 9mm for the first time, it wasn't much different than a 22. Really? That's interesting. We haven't done a 9mm yet. That's our next one. So what we're gonna do next time, I'm gonna do a private lesson again for us, and I think we're gonna rent the Glock 43X, and then we'll probably use that one. Slow is smooth, smooth is fast. That's from a movie, right? Yeah. Yeah, oh, I agree. You look at movies, you look at shooting and stuff, and it's like, whatever, you just point and shoot. Dude, it only took me one private lesson, and I was just like, this is way more complicated than it looks. And imagine if the target is moving. Imagine if somebody's running, you know, or moving to the side or something. Crazy, crazy. Oh, you gotta squeeze the trigger, not pull? Oh, yeah. I'm a complete newbie. Still learning crap. All right, let's do some D&D. Whee! That was a good tangent, though. That's something I'm getting involved in and I'm interested in, you know, so it's always fun to talk about that stuff. The crazy thing is that my wife is into it, too. We were driving down the road like about a year ago, and there was a advertisement up there for like learning how to shoot guns, and I was like, jokingly, I'm like, hey, why don't we go learn how to shoot guns? And she's like, okay, that sounds like a good idea. So she's doing it with me, so it's cool. All right, D&D questions. How many more splat books until you think we are at 6th edition? 3 more years. Give it 3 years. So 3 times 4, 12 splat books. Do you think Tasha's has made race moot? Everyone is now yeah, Tasha's, I've ranted on that so many times. Yeah, Tasha's stupid race crap. I'm not gonna rant on it again. I have no energy left to talk about the same bad decisions. Knight of Order says, when running enemy spellcasters, should they be more devoted to trying to control the battle through counter spells and weakening the players, or attempt to kill them with whatever means necessary? Both. And you shouldn't always do the exact same thing necessarily. Here's the thing. Everybody who's ever played a spellcaster should know that crowd control spells that control the battlefield are way more powerful than damage dealing spells. In my last game session, one of the players used suggestion to get one of the combatants to fight on their side. Way better use of a 2nd level slot than just Scorching Ray or whatever else you could have cast. Way better use of it. And it turned the course of battle by having used that spell. So when you're using something like Banishment or Wall of Force, Hypnotic Pattern, Hold Person, crowd control spells are always way more effective. That said, crowd control spells like those also, when the enemy uses them, they take the players out of the combat. You're banished, you're not playing the game. You're polymorphed into a snail, you're not playing the game. You have Hold Person on you, you're not playing the game. You're hypnotized, you're not playing the game. So, I use those sorts of tactics very sparingly when I'm role-playing enemies, spellcasters, because I don't want to take players out of the game and have them just sitting there doing nothing. It's not very satisfying for them, you know? So I try to avoid that. I know it's very powerful. I know it's optimal, but I don't do it all the time because I don't want to take players out of the game. So many times I will just focus on damage spells because I just don't want to take the players out of the game. The other problem is that I feel like too, spells like that are a lot of times more effective for players to use than dungeon masters, because I find that when I cast the DCs are just so low for many of the enemies that are level appropriate that players are going to succeed on their saving throws, or my concentration is going to get interrupted. And players will, the moment my enemy wizard casts Hold Person, I guarantee you almost every single player is now targeting my wizard to break concentration. They do it every time. And it's hard not to get your concentration broken. I have gotten into the habit now that I give my enemy spellcasters Warcaster just so they can have a harder time getting their concentration broken on spells. So that's my thought to that. I use counter spells. I do use counter spell a lot. But crowd control, I tend to play a little bit low key and do more damage stuff. Counterspell Healing Word. That is probably one of the best uses of counterspell. Stupid Healing Word. Oh, this is something else I began doing recently too, you guys. When my enemies have Healing Word, I'm having when a bad guy drops down, if another bad guy can cast Healing Word on them before like a round has passed, that bad guy gets back up. And this is a new thing that I'm doing because players do this all the time. Healing Word, you're back up. Healing Word, you're back up. So now I'm having my bad guys do it. I give my bad guy clerics, acolytes, whatever, Healing Word, and it's like, boop, you're up. Boop, you're up. Boop, you're up. I'm doing the exact same thing now. It has to be before an entire round passes though, you know. So there's a little bit of a stipulation there, but I'm doing the exact same stinking thing. I did that not too long ago. I did that in one of my games. Like I forget which game it was. It might have been my Curse of Strahd game. It might have been, but I don't recall exactly which one it was. But I used Healing Word and I brought somebody back up. And my players were like, what? What's going on? Oh. Did you ever never really hear of Counterspell Healing Word? Dude, I've never heard of it. Yeah. So so like I don't know everything in the world. Correct. And it has never occurred to me to counterspell Healing Word. It's a great use of it. You find somebody who's heard of everything in the world and holy crap, you have just found a divine being, literally. How would you suggest to prepare for carrying on a campaign after a module? I'm running IMOP. IMOP? What does IMOP stand for? Into Mines, Incendiary Mines of Phandelver? Into Mirror of IMOP. What is IMOP? Somebody's got to know IMOP. What is IMOP? Somebody's got to know what IMOP stands for. I could probably Google it. LMOP? Is it Phandelver? Is it Mines of Phandelver? Okay. Illegal mopping on planes. Okay, is it Lost Mines of Phandelver? Okay. Thank you. I'm running. Oh, it's LMOP. Lost Mines of Phandelver. Oh, and it was an L, not an I. Okay, I'm running Lost Mines of Phandelver for some people. I was wondering if you had tips on how to run it and where to take it. Love your stuff, by the way, Luke. Keep it up. Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Yeah. So when they get done with LMOP, they're level 5, right? So you just start homebrewing. There you go. That's what you do. You come up with an idea for a campaign or some adventures and you just homebrew them and you keep on going. Or if you want, you can go to a different module that starts at level 5. Modules these days generally start at level 1 or level 5, and they're kind of made that way to go together. So you could run another module, or you could just homebrew some stuff. They can keep their own characters. They can keep the exact same characters, and you go with a homebrew. A lot of times, players will have done things during the game that leaves consequences hanging out there, loose ends, enemies they've angered that have gotten away, decisions they've made that might have consequences in the game world. I have a list of, you guys, I have a list of that sort of stuff for like all of my games. Let me show you the list of those things that I have for my Ancient Dragon campaign. So these are my game session notes for my Ancient Dragon campaign. And I crap you not, at the bottom of my notes, I have a list, a veritable list of loose ends, things that have happened and they've done over the course of the game that have not been resolved and could come back, and I could do something with them. They could be a future adventure. These are things that could come back to haunt them. I keep this sort of list for all of my groups, and I pull adventure ideas from this list of things that they've done or not done, or bad things they've done, things that could have consequences and all that kind of stuff. So keep this list, have this list, and then when the module ends, boom, you make adventures based off this list. So that's a tip. Mommy, my mommy cat. You can see her head. Look at, she wants attention. Mommy cat. This is mommy 1, by the way. Yes, mommy. 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 She's so adorable. Mommy. Sorry, the stream is coming to a pause so mommy cat can get her kisses. She's mommy cat. Mommy, look at her, she's still pawing at me. She's like, give me kisses. How often should you have sittings with a completely new group? I don't know what that means. If you're asking how often you should have sessions with a new group, I'm gonna say 2 weeks is a really good, every 2 weeks having a game session is a really good cadence. Every week tends to be really frequent for a lot of people and hard for people's schedules. Every month is unsatisfactory because you're not playing a whole lot of D&D. Every 2 weeks is a really good cadence for a lot of reasons. And don't do it. Find a fixed day at a fixed time and always do it every 2 weeks. Same day, same time, period, end of story. Everybody find a time that works for most people at most times and then stick to it. Don't reschedule every time somebody can't. I got like cat hairs floating in front of me now. Don't reschedule the game every time somebody can't make it. You just go into this scheduling spiral of death where nobody plays D&D because somebody's always got something happening. No, she's over here. I'm a DM right now, so how do you know? So how do know or check how your players kill or just knock out an NPC or a monster? Okay, I think I have interpreted that. Basically, according to the rules, when a monster reaches 0 hit points, if it was a melee weapon attack, very important, if it was a melee weapon attack that reduced a creature to 0 hit points, then the player can choose to deal lethal or non-lethal damage. It's literally what the rules say. So in my games, cat hair is floating in front of me. In my games, when a melee weapon attack reduces a monster to 0 hit points, I will ask the player who dealt the damage, lethal or non-lethal, and they get to choose whether they knock them out, essentially, and they're unconscious at 0 hit points, or whether they kill them. And that's how the rules work. If it is a ranged melee attack, doesn't work. A ranged weapon attack. If it's a ranged weapon attack, it kills them. if it's a spell attack of any sort, it kills them. You only get to make the choice if it is a melee weapon attack that reduces the creature to 0 hit points. And then the player can choose. And they do not have to declare beforehand. That's not how I do it. It's just when they go to 0, they get to choose. That's how I run it. Now, there are some dungeon masters that want you to declare beforehand that you're trying to make it non-lethal. That's fair if they want to do that. I don't think it's technically that way by the rules, but it makes sense to declare it beforehand. So that's how that works. I'm petting mommy and all of her cat hairs are flying all over the place. Thoughts on one-on-one prologue adventures before the party meets in session 1? Dude, if you got time to do it, then sure, do it. But here's, honestly, people want to play D&D. You have tons of players, very few game masters. People want to play D&D. As a game master, if I run a game session for 1 player or 5 players, it represents the same amount of time and effort on my end to run the game session. 1 player or 5 players, same time, same effort. So, considering that people want to play the game and that I have a finite amount of time in my life, when I run a game, I'm going to run it for as many people as I feel comfortable running it for, because that maximizes the fun and enjoyment for as many players as possible during my limited time. So you're probably not going to find Luke running a game for 1 player here, 1 player there, 1 player there. I'm going to say, hey, y'all, want to play a game of D&D? All right, all of you guys come together, all 5 of you, and then we're going to play a game of D&D. So if you have the time and you want to run little prologue things, I don't know what that means, but little prologue things before the game group actually comes together, you can definitely do that. You know, there's nothing wrong with it. Lots of people do it. People probably have fun. One-on-one game sessions can be lots of fun. I've done them before when I was back in high school. If you have the time for it. But if it looks like this, if this is what it looks like, okay, hey guys, there are 5 players. Before we actually get together to run the game, like as a group, I'm gonna do one-on-ones with you guys. Now here's the thing. It's gonna take me about a month to do one-on-ones with Jim. And then it's another month to do the one-on-ones with Timmy. And then another month to do the one-on-ones with Jill. Another month to do the one-on-one sessions with Patrick. And then another month to do the one-on-one sessions with Cynthia. So it's probably gonna take about 5 months of doing one-on-one game sessions before we can actually come together, because I only got so much time. So from the player's points of view, it's like, okay, so like each person basically doesn't get to play D&D for like 4 months because you're doing all of these one-on-one game sessions, assuming you can't do them concurrently. If you can do them concurrently, that's a totally different story. But if you have finite time and you can't do them concurrently, then everybody's waiting to play D&D. In that case, it's like, dude, just bring them together and run the game of D&D for everybody, so you don't have players who are just waiting. You know? So those are some thoughts. There's not a right or wrong way necessarily, but there are ways that are probably more fun for players because they're actually playing the game and not waiting to play the game. So something to think about. Pot of coffee. Hey, little guy. This is little guy. Little guy. Little guy. Hey, Ed. Little guy's here. Look at little guy. I think it's time to do a cat trip. Are you guys ready for a cat trip? Okay, here we go. It's cat trip time. Do-do. 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 Look at that. It's cat trip time. Whee! You guys know this catnip right here cost me about 3 times other catnip. And the reason I bought it is because it says cat crack, but it literally costs 3 times as much as all the other catnip. But I had to have this container. All right, let me get their toys and then we will do a cat trip. All right, where's the banana? Little guy. Oh. All right. We are getting this all set up. What's up, little guy? What's up, little guy? Come on, little guy. There we go. We're doing it. Yeah, we do this every Tuesday, dude. Yes, Ed, that's totally true. All right, I'm gonna leave you with the guys, and I'm gonna go bio, get some coffee. I'll be right back. Oh man, Beaky, what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, Orange was totally trying to steal something. Orange, come here, Orange. 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 He's over. He's pouting now. Oh, my coffee. He's a little guy. I know, I forgot my coffee. Oh. Oh, thank you. Squeaky. Yeah, he's going for it. Would you ever run a campaign that requires tracking of food and water? Basically a survival setting. Say the players are stranded in the desert and have to find their way to a civilization or perhaps die. I don't know. That's a pain in the butt. Here's the thing. I run D&D. I like medieval, like, you know, swords and sorcery, high fantasy. That's the type of games that I enjoy. That's the type of games I run. And I just don't know how much fun it would be to run a game where you're doing logistics a lot, you know? Little guy, he took my banana. He took my banana. So is it possible that I would do something like that? I don't know. I mean, who knows what the future holds, but it doesn't particularly appeal to me because it just sounds like a pain in the butt. I would rather just run a standard high fantasy swords and sorcery type game. Those are just enjoyable to me as opposed to like tracking weight and encumbrance and how much food you have and how many rations you have. And now when you're getting low on rations, we're just thinking about finding food. And so we're role playing, finding food. I don't know. There's probably a way to do that that's fun, but it doesn't occur to me immediately. Look at mommy. Her belly is so adorable. Jeez. Look at that belly. Exactly, Fred. I ran with tracking food, water, arrows, everything. It was annoying to everyone. Most people don't play D&D to keep track of lists and accounting and encumbrance and like that's not why we play D&D. That is the unenjoyable part of the game. That's why there are so many dungeon masters who just give their parties bags of holding at level 1 so, as a justification not to have to track all that bullcrap. So yeah, most people do not enjoy that part of the game. Now there are people who do, but they are so few. There's so few of them. Okay, Jim, you have 1/2 of a canteen left. The sun is blazing on you. Make a Constitution save. You have 1/4 of a canteen left. The sun is blazing on you. Make a Constitution save. Yeah, that does not sound fun. XP to level 3 did a funny video on that. Oh, he did? About having to track all that kind of bullcrap? Do I track encumbrance? No. Gosh, no. As long as my players don't try to do something really obviously like impossible, like loot 20 suits of plate armor and try to carry it with them. As long as they don't do something so crazy and outlandish that I'm just like, guys, I know that I ignore encumbrance and I don't pay attention to what you're carrying, but you're crossing the line. As long as they don't do something like that, then I just ignore it. What are your thoughts on making a Warlock's patron more involved with their character? Should I try to make them engage more with it, or would it be better if I let them interact with it as they want to? I think it probably would be a cool thing to try to see how it works. You know, have their patron appear to them and, you know, maybe ask them for a few things. Ask them to do a certain thing because, hey, I'm your patron. You're supposed to be serving me, remember? I have done this to a certain extent with one of my players in my Ancient Dragon campaign, only it wasn't a patron of a warlock. It was the deity of a cleric. And I had the deity appear to him and request small things of him that he could do in his downtime. And I think the player enjoyed it, and I think it went over really well. The thing that I would caution you against is using the warlock's patron or a cleric's deity as an excuse or a mechanism or a way to force the players to do something that you want them to do. That would be my word of caution. So I didn't have the cleric's deity show up and say, hey, all of you must now go on this adventure right here. You must do this thing. Or I didn't use the warlock's patron to say, hey, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, I'm stripping you of your powers. So there's a delicate line in there, right? Where the warlock's patron or the cleric's deity can become involved in the game to a certain extent and request small things. But if you go too far with it, you're now using the patron or the deity as a way to railroad, so to speak, or force the players into doing certain things. And that's probably unsportsmanlike, I would say. So there's a balance there somewhere in there. What do you do if a player decides to force something into your setting and it doesn't make sense via their backstory? You tell them, no, that's not how the setting is. Rewrite your backstory. Period. End of story. That's it. That they can't force it in there. It's like, I have a backstory. Whatever I put in my backstory, that's the way it is. You have no choice but to accept it. No, it doesn't work that way. You're the dungeon master. If it doesn't work, if that thing doesn't exist, you tell them that doesn't exist in my game world. You need to rewrite your backstory. That's the way it is. Thank you. Have a nice day. Like they can't just force it on you. It doesn't work that way. Have a nice polite conversation where you explain that that's not part of the game world and they should change that. And then you're good to go. But be nice about it. Don't be like me. I'm talking like a moron for showmanship and effect. Obviously be a nice human being when you talk to anybody in the world. Be a nice human being. Do you think DMs should start with modules first to get a little experience before diving into homebrew? That's an excellent question. That's an excellent question. I kind of think they should. My gut inclination is to say, yeah, they probably should. They probably should start with a module to see how adventures are created, how adventures are written, how adventures are designed. You are going to learn so much from reading and running a module. You're going to learn a whole lot of stuff. If you just go at it on your own, dude, you're new. You don't have any idea how adventures are made. You have no idea how the adventuring day mechanic works. You have no idea how to kind of balance encounters. You have no idea how to make compelling villains. You could argue that Wizards doesn't know how to do some of these things too, but let's just pretend that they do. So you have no idea how to do any of these things. If you try to go at it, and you're learning so many new skills as a dungeon master, you're running the game, you're doing lots of different things, and you're also designing the campaign, you're designing the adventures, you're balancing things, you're doing tons of these things that you've never done before that you don't know how to do. You're probably not going to do a great job at it. You're just going to fumble your way through it. And eventually you might learn and get better at it. But if you were to start with a module, then you're going to hopefully be perceptive enough and intelligent enough and pay attention enough to what's going on in the module that you can learn how adventures are designed, how they're written, and how some of these things are done. Now, not all modules are created the same, and some really suck and could be horrible, and some are examples of bad design. Yes, I know. But you're probably still closer, and you're still going to learn some stuff with that module than you would if you just went at it on your own. Because here's one thing that I see sometimes. New dungeon masters have a tendency to just want to tell a story, and instead of actually running a game. And there's a huge difference. They write out a story of something that's got to happen. Woo, and they're not actually running a game. Whereas a module, is written as a game. So I don't know if that makes sense to folks, but I've seen this, somebody will like literally I've had people share like some of the adventures they've written for their groups, and I'll read through it and it's like, this is not an adventure, this is not a game, you wrote a story. They talk about the players will do this, the players will do this, and then this will happen, the players will go here, and this will happen, and this will happen. And they've literally wrote out like a rough draft of a story, of a novel. And it's like, no, this is not how you design a game. This is not it. This is, you know what I mean? So I feel like hopefully running modules can help you, learn some of those elements, but there's no guarantee, and obviously you need to pay attention to what's going on in the module and learn from it, anyway. Oh, by the way, everybody, if you are just starting out as a dungeon master and you're looking for a module to run for your group, might I recommend Into the Fae. It is a level 1 to 5 adventuring module featuring lots of Fae creatures, lots of cool stuff. Link right there in the chat. I also have this is if you're looking for content to use for your groups, I also have a monthly PDF that I send out to my patrons, and it has every single PDF has 2 entire D&D 5th edition adventures in it. It has things like NPCs, magic items, traps, puzzles. It has maps designed for virtual tabletop use. Lots of cool stuff. This is the last PDF that we published in February. It had over 30 pages of stuff in it for Dungeon Masters. And the draft I was just reviewing a couple days ago for the March PDF had over 50 pages in it. So we are putting out some high quality resources here, and a good quantity of it too for my patrons. So you can go check that out too if you're looking for adventures and stuff to run for your groups. Do you get the previous PDFs or just that month's? Yes and no. If you are at the $25 tier, then you get access to the previous month's all the previous PDFs and my own personal. The $25 level gets also access to my own personal notes for my games. My Sword Coast Guard campaign and my Hand of Light campaign are the ones I have published right now for you guys. And then you get access to the previous month's PDFs. That's the $25 tier. Now the other tiers, you get access to the current months, the month you sign up for, and usually you'll be able to get the previous months, but you're not going to get access to everything. And all of this is subject to change too, because I'm going to tell you what, the moment that I have people coming in at 25, just taking all of the content and then canceling and leaving is the day that gets changed. I'm just saying that right now. So, but right now, as of now, words coming out of my mouth, that's how that works. So there you go. Yeah, well, yeah, last Friday I canceled the stream. No, we have streams every Tuesday and every Friday. Last Friday I canceled it. I was tired, I was overworked, I was exhausted, and my eye was just burning like mad right before the stream. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna cancel the stream. So we canceled last Friday, but we normally don't. And right now my voice is dying on me. Like my voice is totally gone. It's really hard to talk right now. My heart attacks. This is a good question. Bodacious Peach. Oh, hold on a second. Where's that module question? Where's the question on modules? I can't find the question on modules. Oh, here we go. Okay, there we go. Where's my timestamp? Where's my timestamp? There we go. It's a pretty good one. That was a good question. So Bodacious Peach says, I've watched your video on one shot, super informative, thank you. But I feel I'm still struggling with keeping the story moving along in a timely fashion without feeling like I'm railroading my players. Any tips? No, you kind of have to. Here's the thing, listen. So when you are running a one shot, definition first. The way I define one shot is
We are literally playing this game for about 4 hours from beginning to end. The adventure will be over in that one game session. A one shot is you have one game session, about 4 hours, beginning to end, and then we're done. That's how I'm defining a one shot. Some people will be like, a one shot's just a single adventure. It could take multiple sessions. That's not a one shot. That's running one single adventure. It's like a one-off adventure, but a one shot, in my opinion, is one game session. That's how I'm defining it for the context of this discussion. And when you're running games at conventions, for instance, which I do whenever conventions start again, I do. When you're running one shots at conventions, you have 4 hours and that's it. And then people leave because they got other stuff they signed up for. So you have 4 hours. So the way that works is you kind of got to railroad them a little bit. You kind of got to. You don't really have a lot of choice because you have to start the game and you have to end the game and you have a certain amount of time. So when I run one shots, and I run one shots for people here too, for patrons and stuff like that. I run one shots every so often, every couple months or so. I run a one shot and they are streamed here on Twitch, and I put them over on my second YouTube channel, the DM Layer Streams, link right there. Thank you. And when I run these one shots, I am railroading a little bit. I am pushing the players a certain bit. I am guiding them a little bit. It probably doesn't feel that way, but I kind of am. For instance, I will give them a bunch of background information and I will put them in the starting location of the adventure because we got to go. Time is clicking. We don't have time to go talk to NPCs in town and go shopping. Like literally, boom, you are in the first room of the dungeon. What are you guys doing? So there is, because you have a time limit, you do have to do certain things that are different than the way you would run a normal. When I run my normal game sessions, I'm not pressuring the players or anything. We can take as much time or as little time as we want. It doesn't matter because I have infinite game sessions to run the game. Now there is pacing, and if you're going too slow, things will be boring and people will be disengaged. So that's a thing, agreed. But for the most part, you have time to just kind of do stuff. But when you're running a one shot and you have limited time, you kind of got to push it along a little bit. You know, you have to keep the things moving. They can't just take 3 hours in one room poking around and dinking around, because if they do, they're never going to finish. So there is an element of pushing a little bit. You kind of can't get around that if you want to end within your 4 hours, and if you want to have a satisfying ending where they actually get through the entire adventure. There's a little bit of pushing involved. There is. And you can't really get around that. The better you get at it, you can make it feel like there isn't a gentle pushing once you get more skilled at it. But there's always that little push, that nudge is always going to be there, and you can't get around it because you have constraints as a dungeon master. You have time constraints, right? You want to do beginning to end, and you have only a certain amount of time. So there's got to be a little bit of pushing. And if you don't, then you're probably not going to end the game session on time. It's going to go over. I hope that helps. How do you let out the frustrations of DMing? It's so hard. Who are you going to talk to? Sometimes I vent at my wife. You have to vent to somebody. There needs to be a group of people or a person that you know that you can vent to. And there has to be that. That's the best way to do it. It's hard for me. Who am I going to vent to? Usually I just vent to the open air or my cats or something. I could talk to my wife about it. It's more difficult because she and I speak Spanish together. And usually I talk to her in Spanish, and it's more difficult to talk about D&D in Spanish because I don't know all the words. It's not normal conversation that we would have in Spanish. Ideally you want to have someone to vent to. I try not to. Do I vent at all? Well, we have the Discord. Where you could vent to people, but I tend not to vent there. I'm in a certain position of what I do and who I am and stuff that, you know, I tend not to do that. Too much. Unless I do it here and then I make a video and put it out on YouTube for everybody to see. It's like nothing or everything. I don't know. You rant a lot. Yes, I rant a lot. Is it true that Fat Cat is a paladin? I don't know what she is. She just likes to eat a lot. Oh, you vent on the Discord? Yeah. It's that I can't, like, yeah. I'm not gonna vent and talk bad about my players and stuff in a public forum. You know, it just doesn't, it doesn't paint me in a good light. And there's a lot of room, you know, for people to misinterpret that and take that the wrong way and come up with certain conclusions and stuff. So there are challenges with being like, you know, doing what I do and stuff like that, you know, where you have to consider stuff like, you know what I mean? Like it reflects on you in a certain different way. And there's some people that would interpret that in ways that they shouldn't, but they would and stuff. So it's like, you have to be more careful with what you say and what you do and stuff, you know, and you have to keep more stuff in, or at least let it out to like my wife or some place where, you know what I mean, there's no record of it or something. So it's a different thing. I don't know if that makes sense. Your players call you grumpy because I rant and vent a lot. You vent at your players about your players. Wow. Do my groups give me anything to rant about or vent about? I don't think. I mean, I have had players in some of my groups recently that I could, you know, but nothing like really. Can you vent to my wife? No. All right, let's keep going. So I have players that only seem to care about themselves during combat and rush into things without thinking. They suck. They're gonna get what they have coming to them, I guess. What are you gonna do? Is it wrong of me to institute a house rule that eliminates death saves, and if they fall below 0 hit points, they are unconscious? And if they aren't brought to at least 1 hit point before the next turn, they die? Is that too harsh, or do you have another mechanic that helps make them realize that decisions that actually have repercussions? You can do whatever you want. I don't know. If I have players that do stupid stuff, I'm not going to change the game rules to make the consequences for their stupid stuff worse. I'm probably just going to keep the game rules as is and apply them fairly. And if they die, they die. I'm not gonna like go out of my way to punish them. In other words, if that makes sense. I probably would not do that. I wouldn't hold back, but I'm not gonna go out of my way to make it harder for them. They're already doing stupid stuff. Eventually that will catch up to them. I'm starting my first campaign as a dungeon master, homebrew. Any advice? I know a guy who has a YouTube channel where he publishes 2 videos every single week with advice, with tips, with instructions, with actual practical, useful stuff that you can use in your games. And the videos are usually between 10 and 20 minutes long. They're not super long. And this guy, he gives advice and stuff. You could probably watch these videos, maybe like a video a day or something, and get tons. So for like a 15-minute investment every day, you would get tons of useful advice for running your games. And if any of the moderators know this guy,
who makes this YouTube channel. You can put a link to his YouTube channel right there in the chat, so folks can go check that guy out. He's pretty good. Thank you, Penguin Butt. Yeah, I've heard he has a high charisma. Yeah, he's a pretty good guy. literally that's what I do. I make advice about homebrew, mostly homebrew stuff, and running games. That's like my shtick. And I have a YouTube channel full of videos. So yes, I'm gonna refer you to the videos. Absolutely. Hey, glad I found your channel. You have great content. Well, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Okay, so I'm starting my own homebrew campaign. When you create a world, what would you say is too much? I don't want players to feel trapped and hemmed in. I want it to feel alive and like their choices matter. I'm still kind of new to DMing. Your players don't care about the world. They probably don't care about the world. Players don't play D&D or role-playing games for the world. They don't care about your world. They probably don't care about the setting. It probably doesn't matter to them. It's the backdrop. They don't pay attention to that. There's a couple things that players pay attention to. They care about their characters. They care about their PCs. They like their cool things, their spells, their abilities, and those things. That gets them excited. They also like going on adventures. They like fighting monsters, interacting with monsters, talking with NPCs, getting loot, getting gold magic items, gaining power. That's playing the game. Your world that you're creating, the backdrop that you're creating is a backdrop. It is a tertiary consequence of secondary or tertiary importance to most players. They don't care. It's not what motivates them to play the game. So what I'm driving at is, as a dungeon master, you don't create the world for your players. If you're creating your own homebrew game setting, so instead of using Forgotten Realms or Eberron, you're creating your own world, you're not doing that for your players. You're not going through all that work and effort of creating that for your players. You're creating that for you because you enjoy doing it, because it's fun for you, and you want to have your own world that's unique to you. Your players probably don't care a whole lot. I have played in many homebrew game worlds, and I didn't care about them at all. What did I care about? My character and going on adventures and fighting bad guys. That's what I cared about. Backdrop, it's like, whatever. You know, you could throw me in Forgotten Realms or Eberron or your homebrew, and it's like, it's okay. You know, some might be better than others, granted. You know, but mostly I don't care about that stuff. So this is my opinion, but I really feel like world building is for the dungeon master. It is something the dungeon master does because we need to get that out there. We need to do that thing. We enjoy doing it. Most players probably don't. Most players probably don't care about it at all. They're not going to engage with that part of the game unless you force some sort of engagement with that part of the game. So how much is too much? There's no that is the answer. You know, only you know how much world building is too much and how much is too little. And the players are only hemmed in. Like, if they want to go a place that you haven't designed yet, and you say you can't go there, well, okay, they can get the feeling of being hemmed in. But that's where I would say you kind of need to improvise on the fly then, and figure that crap out. You know, at least for the rest of that game session, and then offline you can go prepare that part of your world that you didn't flesh out yet. But I would say do as much world building or as little world building as you want to do personally, and you know, you might have to improvise some stuff on the fly if your players decide to go someplace that you haven't had them go before. And that might be a thing you have to do. But there's no right or wrong answer to that, I don't think. A world feeling alive and like their choices matter has nothing to do with your game world. Nothing. Whether I'm in Forgotten Realms or Eberron or a homebrew, I can make my world feel just as alive. And their choices matter. That has nothing to do with your game world at all either. Those are totally unrelated at all. Totally different things. So I would say, dude, you do as much as you want, as much as you enjoy. That would be my recommendation.
If I don't have certain details ready for my world, a few of my players get really upset. It could be a question about a criminal organization that's not been made yet, or whether an NPC is attracted to a certain gender. It disrupts my game sometimes to the point I've had to talk to those players outside the game, but they keep doing it. Yeah, they're morons. It's like, no, you did not anticipate my random question about this thing. No! How dumb. Like seriously, you really, okay. You really think that I am gonna know everything about a fantasy world that either I or somebody else created? I'm gonna know every single detail in advance, even things you've never asked about before. I'm gonna have it all created in advance for you. Really? That's your expectation? Really? I mean, come on. And they get upset when you don't know things? Come on. Give me a break. I would have a conniption. I just had a conniption fit. It's such an unrealistic, stupid expectation. Come on. Yeah, I would have a talking with players like that too. And I would explain that that's an unrealistic expectation and it's never going to be fulfilled. And they need to get over it. And you're not going to get upset and bring my game sessions to a halt because you have an unrealistic expectation and I'm not fulfilling it. I do not exist to cater to your whims and cater to every fancy and every idea that pops into your head of everything that I should or should not do. Like, that's not my reason for existence, to satisfy your little unreasonable expectations. Good gravy. Holy crap. Bunch of morons. We need a timestamp for that one. Was that in the spreadsheet? I'm putting that in the spreadsheet. I don't know how to do this. Help! Moderators, put that into the spreadsheet. Put Dragonbite 5e's comment into the spreadsheet so I can put a timestamp on it. Thank you. I don't know how to do this stuff. Where is it going in the spreadsheet? Help! Help me! I don't know how to use the spreadsheet. Somebody help me! All right, this is at 23800. Can you put it right there? It needs to go right there. Right where I put that timestamp. Somebody's working on it. Thank you. Whee! Excellent. Appreciate that. Heart attack. Werewolf says, I come back from the bathroom and all I see from Luke. What a bunch of morons. First time spreadsheet user. Well, Silas, in all fairness, my moderators use this spreadsheet. It's a Google Doc. And one of my moderators, I think it was Subcycle, he made this spreadsheet and it's really cool and has a lot of functions and stuff, but I never use it. Like, my moderators use it. And so I don't know I don't know what to do with it. It's like, they do that. Yeah. Yes, my moderation team is amazing. I love them. They're awesome. Oh, look at this. Squeaky. This is Squeaky. How do you become a patron without a debit card? You need to have a credit card. That's the only way Patreon works. Or you might be able to use PayPal, I don't know. But you have to use whatever mechanism Patreon accepts. That's the way you have to do it. There's nothing that can be done about that. They only accept certain payment methods. Which 5e class do you think needs the most help, and what specifically do you think they need to be more on par with the other classes? Anything that's not a paladin needs help. I mean, the ranger and the ranger sucks. The rogue is very nice, the paladin is nice, the wizard is nice, the sorcerer I like. I don't usually like playing bards, but bards are very good. Warlocks are fine. Yeah. Fighters are good. Barbarians are good. I think everything has a strong suit. Like everything feels pretty nice when I think about it, except for Ranger. Ranger sucks. Like everything that a Ranger does, a fighter or another class or a splash could do better. Yeah, Ranger's really the one that sucks. They really dropped the ball on Ranger, in the core rulebook. Ranger. Should I level down encounters for PC stupidity? Like, if PCs make consecutive bad choices, even when I warn them and or strongly hint not to go back to town mid-dungeon or anger the town's mayor. No, that what you just laid out are the exact conditions under which I would not level down encounters. Like, bad decisions and making dumb choices, especially if the dungeon master is like, you know, saying hint hint, this is a bad idea, are you sure? That's exactly when you do not make it easier for them. That's exactly when you double down and let their decisions have consequences. So no, under those situations, no, you don't go easy on them. You just go wee. What do you think about a D&D adventure that has a time travel element in it? Sounds interesting. I think we're running out of questions. Quality of my answers will be directly impacted by the quality of the question and how specific the question is. What do you think about Rangers? They suck. Mark the time for a YouTube rant. Do you ever encourage your players to have their characters eat the monsters they kill? No, I don't encourage that. Oh, we have redemptions. I have not been paying attention to redemptions at all. Oh, we did the cat trip. Goliath Cleric. Oh, this is from 7 days ago. Is Goliath Cleric here? Does anybody know? Is Goliath Cleric here? Oh, by the way, MTMJ Moondog, thank you so much for the tier 1. I appreciate that. And Pedra Maravilla, it looks like, or something like that. Thank you very much for the prime. Appreciate that. He's not here? Okay. He redeemed a talking character from 7 days ago, and I'm just gonna give that back to him. Okay, so the Make Luke Rant redemption is topic. Your view of advice for DMs coming from YouTube and Reddit. I've got the popcorn ready. My view of advice for DMs coming from YouTube and Reddit. I don't even know if I can rant on that. So here's the thing. I'm going to tell you straight up. I am a D&D YouTuber, and I am not going to talk bad about other D&D YouTubers. So I'm just not going to do that. Even if I don't think positively of some of them for some reason, I'm not going to talk about that in a public way. I'm not going to do it. So that rant is dead. That would be very bad form on my part to do that. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. Now Reddit, on the other hand, Reddit just is, yeah. Here's the thing. I have not, and this is why I probably can't rant about this. I have not been on Reddit and engaged with the Reddit D&D community for probably about 3 years. 3 years. Because the amount of toxicity, people there that were just really, really horrible human beings and treat people like crap. The culture there almost encourages people to be mean to each other, it seemed like. That's what I was kind of getting from the Reddit community, from the different D&D forums that I was on, the different subreddits that I was engaging with. And it seemed like there was a lot of gatekeeping or something going on. I'm not sure what it was. Let me explain what I found. What it seems like there are some people in the subreddits that will sort by new, and then they will go in and they will basically read what you posted and see if you are worthy or not. And if they don't think what you posted was worthy or good, they'll just rip into you. And what I have noticed on Reddit, at least the subreddits that I was involved in, is that as soon as you get one or two people that rip into you, it's just a cascade of people just, you suck, and they just tear you a new one. But if you can get the first couple people that respond to your post are positive and they like it, everybody else falls in line. They all fall in line and they're just like, yay, we love you. That was awesome. It was like black or white. It was like either you had people that are just like hated it, or you had people that loved it. And I've talked to some people about this, and I don't know all the details of it. I'm not super well versed on it, but it seems like part of it might be their whole karma system and karma farming, and they want to get upvotes on their things, so they post that if they see a conversation is going a certain way, they will post similar stuff so that they'll get upvoted, so that they'll get karma and stuff. I mean, that's what one person, I was kind of explaining this idea to a person, and that's what they were telling me that they thought was happening, perhaps. That the culture just, first of all, the culture encourages people to be jackwads. And second of all, it seems like because of this upvoting and karma and stuff, that people tend to not want to be the odd duck out, and they fall in line with the crowd so that they can just get upvotes and farm karma. That's what someone had explained to me. I don't know how true it is, but that's kind of what they said. But so my experience in general with Reddit and subreddits is, it's basically, it's just a very toxic, horrible place, and people are not very nice to each other. That has been my experience. So I have not been on Reddit or used Reddit for probably 3-ish years. I just stopped totally. I'll tell you what, the day I was trying to be part of doing stuff and talking and crap on Reddit and whatnot, and it was always super stressful. Like, I would never know if something I posted, people would just like lay into me and be horrible to me, or whether they would be okay-ish. They would act like normal human beings. And it caused like stress, anxiety and stuff. Not like, but you know, a certain little bit of like, oh, how's this post gonna go? What are people gonna say? How's this gonna go? I don't know, you know? And so the day that I stopped posting, I felt so much better. It was relief. It was relief. It was like, I'm done. The day that I said I'm done with Reddit, I'm done. I'm never going back there. I felt better. And I didn't have that stress, that anxiety. And I'm just, hey, you know what? I'm not going to live that way. We're not doing that. So I've not engaged with Reddit at all for like a while. So I can't really talk about the quality of advice of dungeon masters on Reddit. I just don't know. I can tell you this though. What I do remember when I was reading that stuff and more involved in that stuff, I get a feeling, I so get this feeling that that many of the people on there talking about D&D and giving advice and stuff, they don't play the game. They don't actually play the game. They just sit on their subreddits and talk about it all day long. And I feel like a lot of them are just probably mimicking back what everybody else has said and what they've heard. I just read so many of these people talking about stuff, and it's like, how can this be true? How does this actually work? Like, I play the game every single week, you know, and run the game constantly, and what you're saying smells fishy to me. And so I have to question how many people even play the game and how many just talk about it and pretend they do, because everybody lies on the internet. Almost everybody lies and misrepresents who they are to boost their ego, to make themselves feel better, you know, and stuff like that. So that's the one thing I've always wondered, you know, how many people are just like, and how many people are actually playing the game. So I don't know. Emotionally bad? Yeah. Yeah, I believe it. Reddit question. Dealing with an annoying rules lawyer, what should I do? People on Reddit, just kill the character. That'll teach him. Yeah, if they're saying that. I haven't always seen... Here's the thing. I have seen quality content and quality posts. I will sometimes, when I have a question, like I might need something X, Y, or Z for a game, or I have a question about something, and I might do a Google search and it might send me to Reddit, and I will find quality posts where people put good, useful information about something about the game, and it'll be useful to me, you know? So I have found some stuff there that's really useful, and I know there are people there that put effort into their posts and they put useful content there. It's just like, you have to wade through the negativity and the criticism and the jerkwads to get to the gold. And it's just like, why bother? It's like something about that community just like encourages people to like be vicious to each other. I don't understand it, you know? It's like endemic to that platform, it seems like. So I don't know. So those are my thoughts on Reddit. I mean, I have used Reddit, the LFG subreddit, to find new players. I had not recently, but back in the day. And it was good for finding players. I agree with that. Yeah. They know their D&D through memes or memes? Yeah, probably. Wow. Bodacious Peach, thank you for the tier 1. I appreciate that. Okay, so I didn't exactly rant about that topic, but I did the best I can. Oh, all right, let's take a look at the spreadsheet here. See what we got going on. What are your thoughts on reoccurring allies such as shopkeepers or people the party has helped in the past? Sure, sounds good. Should there ever be a time for the Dungeon Master to hold back against the players? Yeah, I think so. I tend to hold back when I made a mistake. If I was not intending something to be quite as nasty as it ended up being, I might hold back. So generally, yeah, when I make a mistake and I know I made a mistake, I'll tend to hold back. When I don't feel I made a mistake and my players made a bad decision, then I don't hold back. So yeah, I think there is a time. I think there is a time. Where was that? How do you feel about games that start with giving players a starting feat at level 1? I think it's stupid. You don't need a starting feat at level 1. That's what I think about that. Why? Why? D&D 5th edition, I've ranted on this before. D&D 5th edition characters are already super powerful. They're already super powerful. They're already hard to kill. They already have everything going for them. They already have every advantage. 5th edition characters are super powerful. They don't even need magic items and they're super powerful. You don't need a feat at level 1. You don't. That's just my flavor. That's just how I run my games. There's nothing wrong with it except that it's just dumb. Sorry. As a brief rant. Yeah, all characters should have feet. Or at least start the game with feet. Oh, that's so beautiful. Thank you, Hungry Hippos. During an adventure you might be running and something happens to mess it up. Do you just go with the flow or try to get it back on course? It depends. It really depends on what it is. Do you take ideas from other RPGs and integrate them into D&D? Usually not, because I don't really play any other RPGs, so it makes it hard to do that. What would you say to a newer DM who begins encountering analysis paralysis when building a homebrew world or campaign? Our group's current campaign is coming to an end and the role of DM is likely changing from me to someone else. I'm not really sure how to help them out of the rut. They need to... Okay, here's what you do. Okay. I don't know. There are some people who just can't get it done. They need to freaking get it done. They need to get their brains and they need to do it. Stop thinking, do it. Just do it. Get it done. I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know how to help a person that's stuck like that. If somebody couldn't create, if they couldn't do world building and they're just like, I can't do it. I can't do the world building. It's too much for me. Okay, here's Forgotten Realms. Here's Eberron. Use that. Okay, now I can't create adventure. I don't know how to create adventures. Okay. Here's a module. Run this module. Or go to Luke's Patreon and sign up and get adventures every month. Okay, or go to his website and get free adventures that you can use. There you go, problem solved. Okay, if you're getting stuck and you can't get it done, then get resources that will help you. There's lots of them out there. That's something you could do. A cheesy plug. It's not a cheesy plug. If you can't get it done, then use stuff that other people have already created. Use what other people have done who can get it done. There's no shame in that. Somebody just redeemed a cheesy plug. Make Luke do a cheesy plug this minute. I just did a cheesy plug. Plug the cheese. I think we're done. We're gonna raid somebody, and we're done. Let me find, where is this? All right, we're going to over here and we're gonna find somebody to raid, and we're gonna raid somebody. Yay! Yay! Oh, we gotta find something that sticks out here. Something that looks interesting. This is always the hard part of the stream. Yeah, I could raid myself. Ooh, what's this? So many levels. We can do that one. This guy's got a beard. That's cool. We might do that one. We could raid these guys. Christina Ellis. You guys want to do that one? How's that one sound? I'm trending toward that one right there. Christina Ellis. We could raid that one. Counterspell Live. Counterspell Live. We could do that one. This dude's got some skeletons going on right there. Dang. Ooh. Let's do this counterspell one. Let's do this one right here. Counterspell Live. All right, I'm gonna get that set up. Give me a hot second. We will raid Counterspell Live. All right, folks. Is this gonna work? Hey, it's working. Okay, cool. Go jump in there. Let's raid these people. Let's show them some love and support and stuff. And I'll see you Friday. Friday we'll be back here streaming and crap. It'll be fun. Whee! All right, let's go. Bye. Love you. Bye.